Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican for his service.
Is that correct?
I didn't ask you to interrupt me. Oh, for crumb's sake.
Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, coming through from beautiful, beautiful northern Utah, which is just, at least outside it's beautiful. The weather's always pretty much the same here in the office. But I've got the clouds over the mountains up there. It looks absolutely great. Welcome back. We are ready for, or getting ready for, part 2 of today's Robert Tellis trial. Robert Tellis is on the stand. He's about to face cross-examination from Mr. Hamner, and it's going to be like the hammer hitting Mr. Tellis. He's not excited about this. First of all, he's not excited because he opened the door. He asked for evidence to be admitted, which it was. The state was even nice enough to volunteer and help them get this evidence in, and it happens to be evidence that includes text messages between him and Roberta, who he allegedly had an affair with. Well, that goes against the character that he's trying to tell the jury, that I'm the good guy, I'm the upstanding family man. And now he's asked them to look at these messages. We'll see what the judge decides here in just a minute when they come back. We have to say a big shout out to Sample User, whose real name is Adam Nusky. He changed it as a joke. Who was first in chat, with an F in chat. First in chat every time we go live. They receive a gift. Well, it's actually a punishment, but because you're first in chat, Adam, you are responsible for the internet worldwide. We are gifting you the internet to take care of, to maintain for the rest of us. So please, if you could make that happen and make sure there are no hiccups or glitches or anything between now and the end of trial today, that would be great. Adam also says, if Tellis is 6'5", then I'm 0'6". Yeah. All right. Can't wait for Cross in an hour, said Alex Duncan. Oh my goodness, this is the truth. This is the truth. We get all geared up for trial. We get all excited to have court begin, and then the judge has a different calendar altogether. I mean, it's the same day, but the time frames, it's like they're in their own little world. So we start at 10:30. We actually start at close to 11, or sometimes 11:15. We've had 45-minute delays. Our 15-minute break became a 45-minute break, where we came back and found out we're going to also now have lunch before we're done. So this is sort of like the name of the game as we proceed here in Las Vegas. In court, however, let me get the background working here. See if I can show you where we are. Boom. All right. This is where we are in court. We're waiting for them to come back. So all we have right now is the seal. Our counter has been sort of quiet today, the anybody count. I was expecting it to be a little bit higher. The way the count works, for those that are new to the channel, we try to count something interesting or funny or obscure every single time there's a trial, every trial. And for this trial, we decided to count body, and I called it the body count. Apparently body count means something differently than I had envisioned. And once I was informed of the true meaning of body count, I changed it to any body count. So anytime we hear the word body, like body cam or body or any body, that counts. And we count out how many times that happens during the trial. It also counts if we are shown images of a body, specifically deceased body, during the trial. So we're up to 132 now. We expect, at least in closing statements, we'll get a lot more of those. Remarkably, during Robert Tellis's testimony, we got none. I don't think he added any bodies to this. That's the one thing he did not want to talk about, was the body in this case, which is the body of Jeff Gearman, who Mr. Tellis is accused of murdering. That was conspicuously absent in his testimony throughout his rambling narrative style diatribe. Across in an hour. That's funny, Alex. Let's see. We have. It's not easy being gray, says Chinny. Let's see. As far as the testimony that we're expecting right off the bat, Mr. Hamner, who's the prosecutor who's handling this cross-examination, has told the judge wanted to begin. To her credit, she wanted to start right after the 45-minute long 15-minute break. She wanted to start right then. Mr. Hamner said, no, I'd rather not start until I know the full scope of what I can go into on these text messages, specifically the team's messages between Roberta and Robert. And if we can get that hammered out, then I'll know, and it'll only take me a few minutes. Then I'll get enough direction that I can proceed. So the judge has agreed. Once he comes back, there will be no break. I think at that point, it's just going to be a relentless hammering of the witness with facts, and with questions that he has to defend. How well he does, I'm not sure. Because he's had 2 years to get his story straight in his head. But he hasn't had 2 years of being questioned by a very experienced prosecutor, and Mr. Hamner is one of those. So this could be interesting. We could see Mr. Tellis having to find answers to questions he didn't think he would have to answer. If you catch what I'm leaning to, that he might get thrown off his game here in just a little bit, because I think what we've seen a lot of so far, at least to my perception, is Mr. Tellis trying to present a specific image, a specific look. There are times where he wants to look, inquisitive or cute, even with his facial expressions and his eyebrows and his creases in the forehead, doing all sorts of things. The eyes, he's been quite expressive, and I think he's doing this to present a version of himself to the jury. His almost entire testimony, as he's been speaking while he's on the stand, he's been turned directly to the jury, talking to them, and that's great. He knows who he has to convince. It's not the judge; it's the jury who's going to decide his fate. And I'm not sure if they're believing it. The reporter in the courtroom we've been following, Vanessa Murphy, has been tweeting and saying, this jury's hard to read. Unlike Mr. Tellis, they're not very expressive in their facial expressions. We can tell some are taking notes. They're paying attention. We know that much. And we know that they have a lot of questions because they just about jumped out of their seat when the judge called for a break. They're like, wait, we have questions. And they're like, judge is like, you've got to wait till after the prosecution goes. And then you get your questions in, because you only get to ask questions if the other two sides didn't already. Debbie says, I don't know what body count means, and I don't think I want to. Think romantic conquest list. I think that's what it was portrayed to me to mean. My predicted deliberation time, Scott says, is 17 minutes. Just 17. Which is about how long it takes to pick a foreman and fill out the paperwork and then wait for the bailiff to call you back to court. The jury will forget their questions by the time they get to ask them. No, they have notes. They're able to write them down, Carol. I think they were literally waving their paper in the air saying, here, wait. I think they have questions. They've been writing them down this whole time. Let's see. Means how many notches on your belt? Yeah. I think there is a meaning of body count that might be applicable to war, which is sort of morbid, but I think the standard meaning nowadays is probably the one that was explained to me a couple days ago. I'm so here for the jury questions. 15 minutes if the judge picks a foreman for them. That'll save them 2 minutes. All right. Laura M. says, Recovery Addict, I saw All Direct last night, missed today. Scale of 1 to 10. How poorly did it go? Laura, I hate to break this to you. You need to go back and rewatch. It was more of a train wreck. I was cringing watching it. It was uncomfortable to watch. We ended up playing the sad piano music during what I would call the sob story portion of his testimony, where he painted himself as to be the bad guy, using everything from they took my clothes, they took my car before they even found the bloody shoe in my house. They made me wear a paper suit. A reporter followed me all the way up to my garage door. The wrongs in his life, when you look at the scale of everything, just don't compare. But he's trying to elicit compassion. What do they call that? Sympathy. Elicit sympathy from the jury as he's describing how he had to sit there in the paper suit and it was cold and they wouldn't adjust the thermostat for me. These are first world problems, my friend, that the jury could really care less about. And eventually he broke down in tears while looking at pictures of his messy house as the SWAT team, or the team that served the search warrant, had gone through his property and searched it quite thoroughly and left a little bit of a mess. I'd say a big mess. I didn't see the before pictures, but yeah. Oh, chat was behaving so well, then insert the host. Yes. I'm sorry, Weather Watch. Weather Watch is a good friend of mine. He's one of our fantastic mods, as you see his name's there in blue. He also happens to be the host of the Not Relevant podcast, which I am a co-host tonight at 8 o'clock on this channel, basically right after court ends. We're going to start that podcast. It's a time we get to talk about some things that are maybe not relevant. That's why we call it the Not Relevant podcast. We talk about all sorts of news issues. We'll probably talk about food at some point. Dad jokes are appropriate. And really it's done live. It's a podcast where it's live, just like this live stream, and you get to participate that way as well. So please join us or consider joining us. Even if you can't watch it live, put it on your bookmark list for the replay. We'd love for you to join us tonight. We get to hear a little bit about Weather Watch's new endeavor, as he's the ambassador for the Citizens Police Academy in his town. And he's that kicked off last night. So we get to hear some insights as to how they get to see inside the work that police do. All right, it is podcast night tonight. Favorite day of the week for me. Let's see. Kiki Starden says, I'm back. I was lost and now I'm found. Did cross start? Almost, Kiki D. It was so close. Mr. Hamner is about to start, but the problem is the last thing that the defendant did basically before he got off the stand, other than batting his eyelashes with a puppy dog look and telling the juror he didn't do this, was admit all the team's messages, which include messages from his romantic interest. Now he doesn't want those messages coming in. And so we've got to figure out if the judge will rule on that and decide. And once they know, then Mr. Hamner is going to proceed with his cross-examination. It is the male prosecutor crossing. He's very good at this. He has the capacity. We've seen him in other trials, specifically in Tommy Thompson. Was that the one? That was the guy that was accused of setting up a guy to murder his wife, and then he killed the guy who murdered his wife. That was a crazy case. But we've seen a really good delivery method and level of spice from Mr. Hamner before. I know he's capable of this, and I think Tommy Randolph. Why do I say Thompson? Tommy Thompson is not Thomas Randolph. But we've seen that level of delivery before, and it's good. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm going to listen here to see if we get some sound from court. So far, nothing. But let's see. Tommy Thompson's a name in a country song. Let's see. Is that the Don't Take the Girl? Is that in Don't Take the Girl? I'm trying to remember what country song. That's Tim McGraw, Don't Take the Girl, right? I'm good with my music. I can remember some things. All right, I just had to play every country music song I knew through my head all at once, and I used both of them, and it was one of them. I am enjoying the view of the trees, watching them sway in the breeze. It reminds me that I'm on vacation. That's what it does, because everything else about what I'm doing looks just like work. But it does remind me that I'm on vacation, being able to look out the window behind me. I am also holding my pen. The pen I got from Rob from Lawn Lumber. He made this for me specifically, and I love it. I normally carry it around, but I've been twirling the pen today, probably for good luck. Big shout out to Rob at Lawn Lumber. If you don't follow his channel, why not? You should. He's a great lawyer. He's a pillar of LawTube, a good friend and mentor on the YouTube front. Nevada's state seal is polluting. It is, and it's blowing towards Utah, which is where I am. And so that would explain why the sky looks like this. Lawn Lumber's going to be back with Friday Night Frenzy tomorrow, says Laura M. This is, if you're a late night YouTube watcher and you love true crime, FNF is where you need to be on Friday nights. It starts right about the time I go to bed, and it runs till the early hours of Saturday morning. It's always fun. A lot of times Ian's on there. A lot of times you'll get some other friends. I know Emily D. Baker's been on there. It's a good bunch, and it's a bunch of really smart lawyers who have really cool personalities talking about true crime, and you can't miss that. You can't go wrong. All right. Let's see. Misconduct says, Recovery Addict, I watched his pro se hearing and his hearing to recuse the judge. This, whatever, from a year ago, he was tame compared to those hearings. Rob is often still on when I awake Saturday morning. Zimmy, you're up early, but yes, he does stay up quite late. Grizzly is on Court TV tonight too. Awesome. Grizzly's amazing. We have a lot of people here who are Grizzlies as well. Love Grizzly True Crime. There are so many, I kid you not, there are so many good channels on YouTube of content creators who provide just amazing analysis, amazing content, amazing insight. You can't go wrong. If you like true crime, YouTube is the place to be. Big shout out to all those amazing channels out there. Some of them are just up and coming. You've got the big ones, of course, with Lawn Lumber, Emily D. Baker, Peter Tragos, and then Grizzly, things like that. And you've got new people like Ada K, who was doing something that nobody else has done before in the world of true crime, and providing sign language interpretation for true crime channels. And so she'll take the live stream and bring on a literal sign language translator and be able to translate it to sign language, which I just think is awesome. It is so neat to see people do that, to make this available to a whole other group of people who up until then were not able to enjoy it the way that we do, being able to participate up into the second like that. Because, closed captioning just doesn't cut it. I mean, AI has gone far with images. Closed captioning needs a long way to go. Sandy Beach says, Recovery Addict, you've created the best place to be. So happy I found you and this chat. Sandy Beach, thank you very much. Congratulations on 12 months. I love that orange courthouse. Thank you on a wonderful year. And I have to say, it's this wonderful place that you too have created. It would not be the same without you. This community is amazing. Thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for allowing all the shout outs. Hey, I would not be half as informed as I am without the amazing people on YouTube who have taught me and continue to teach me. I have a shirt. I don't have it with me on vacation, but I have a shirt that says, everything I learned about law, I learned from Matthew Harris Law, who is another YouTuber and one of our moderators as well. There are so many good people. And when it comes to LawTube in this community, or LawTube adjacent, as I like to call myself, there are so many people who are willing to help, and I learn from so many of them, and they're just amazing. I love that I get to associate with them. They're great people. Brandy is good too. Love Brandy Churchwell. You can never go wrong with a Brandy Churchwell chart. That's good stuff. Found you from Brandy's channel. I love Brandy. I don't have a pet cam like she does. Lucy cam is amazing. I have a cat at home I'm looking forward to getting back to. But I don't have a permanent, it's not an indoor cat, so it makes it hard to film like that. Danny Austin gifted a membership as we're waiting for court to kick off here. Let's see, any minute now, possibly. It's 15 after. Brandy is hilarious. Love her. Love being there when she adds another cork to the jar. It's exciting to be able to say I was there at the beginning. We had her on as a guest on our channel, and she had a bad taste in her mouth from YouTube. She was not a big fan. I reached out to her trying to get her on as a guest, and she ghosted me. Reached out and begged, and and she came on and loved it. She came on twice that day, and just her channel's grown remarkably. She does an amazing job on podcasts. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, we could talk all day long about wonderful channels out there. There are so many that are better than mine. I look up to and view as mentors. So a big shout out to all of them. Thank you, Danny, for the gifted membership. Also, Evangeline Light gifted 5 memberships. Thank you as well. Super kind. I'm trying to get the audio lined up here before we start. If I can. It's impossible to do, but I'm trying to sync up feeds using still images, which you just can't do. You need a mouth moving and sound going so you can find the match and sync everything up. But we'll make it work. What I'm basically saying is, as soon as court starts, the sound might be off for a little bit. There might be a little bit of a delay between the sound you see and the movement you see on the screen. The sound you hear and the movement you see, but we'll get it fixed. All right. We'll start there. And no audio here. So now we can say the judge is officially late back from lunch. Britt Bottoms, thank you very much. I'd love to help. If there's any advice I could give you about streaming, I'll tell you the number one thing I'll tell anyone who wants to start streaming on YouTube. First of all, you have to have something you're passionate about, something you could talk about maybe for half an hour straight. That's it. Just talk about something that you love for half an hour. And if you've got something like that you really love and you know a little bit about or have a strong interest in, start before you're ready. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but just start. Get the whole hurdle of hitting the record button or hitting the go live button out of the way and get that behind you. And do it when there's 3 people watching or no one watching even. And then build on that and watch and learn from that, and you'll grow. You'll look back and you'll just be mortified at what you put out. I am about my first videos. I'm mortified about them. They're terrible. But I would never be here if I hadn't done those. And so I recommend start before you're ready, and you'll find that, especially in this community, so many people are so accepting and willing to work with you and say, hey, we're just glad you're doing what you're doing. We like what you're saying. We like the way you're saying it, or we like the insight or the questions that it causes me to ask. And you'll find you're surrounded by a supportive community in no time. Virginia Little says, love the fact that even though you're on vacation, you still live stream every day. That is devotion. I wouldn't miss this for the world. I wouldn't. I'm excited. This vacation allowed me to be here for the Corey Richins trial, which is coming up soon. We have a hearing, a 3-day hearing, 26th, 27th, 28th. I'll be up there in Park City for that one. That's going to be fun as well. So it was good. Let's see. Laura M says, another YouTuber I like, Peter Mon, has 7 channels, said he kept putting it off until he lost weight, and one day he just decided he couldn't wait anymore. Now he loves it. 7 channels. That's awesome. I don't know how I'd maintain 7 channels. I struggle with 2. Jen Del Rio gifted a membership. Thank you, Jen. What a way to welcome new members here with these memberships. That is awesome. I missed Holly Mack. Let me go back and find Holly Mack. Just one second. Chat's going fast. Let's see. There it is. Holly Mack gifted 5 memberships in there between Danny Austin and Evangeline Light. Thank you, Holly Mack. Thank you for gifting memberships. Then we had Britt Bottoms for the love of LawTube. Thank you, Britt. Virginia Little and Jen Del Rio. Thank you all for your generosity. It's amazing. It's what makes this community just incredible. And what makes people feel so welcome. A lot of times they'll find a channel, come in and just pop in and say, I've never talked in a channel before. This is my first time here. I like this. And they'll find themselves gifted with the membership and just feel right at home. Did you make your bed today? Yes, but it has my kids' like socks and underwear or whatever on it, their laundry, which they have to come gather and take to their room. So I'm not going to show you that. But the bed's made. I promise. Scout's honor. You can't bounce a quarter off the bed, but it's made. Messy room, did you cry? Agony goose. Love that. No, Mrs. R.A. just told me I need to make a bed. Misconduct gifted 5 memberships as well. Thank you, Misconduct. Ashley says, this is the first channel I have ever chatted in, Recovery Addict. You introduced me to all of LawTube. I didn't know about anyone before you. I'm glad you found us, Ashley. It's been wonderful. I appreciate the help you give us, especially over on our Top Mark Media channel, where you're a mod on that channel as well. Thank you for that. We anticipate some more videos coming up on Top Mark Media soon. Possibly the Corey Richens videos will go up there first, and then we'll possibly use those videos to do commentary during a break so we can watch them together. But I think we'll put them on Top Mark Media first. Britt Bottom says, I found you during Maya. I can't ever leave now. That was a crazy trial. That was a civil suit. Ashley, same. Never chatted before, says Greeners. Never won the internet before either, and now you're a regular. Beginner Crafter, I have not kept the counter up. I have the program running, so I could launch it again and see where the number would be, but I don't know the status right now. There's so much happening sort of behind closed doors in that case. I don't know where we're at. I know Peter Tragos did a live that sort of told of sadly some of the fallout, as some relationships seem to have come to an end in the attorney's office that represented Maya. But I don't know where the legal proceedings at with the settlement right now. I don't think they've paid yet. We are super close to 60K. We are, let's see, we're at 59,829. So we need 171. 171 subscribers, and then we'll reach 60,000. You'll be able to hear the party sound once. Kayla Newell says, found you with Cavalcante. That was a lot of fun. We may have, depending on the news stories that come up, I'm keeping my ear to the ground for other news stories that are similar to that. I loved what we were able to do there because it wasn't just like following the news and watching it, but we were filling a gap that the community was looking for, and it wasn't provided. It wasn't provided by local law enforcement. It wasn't provided by the news media. So it was really exciting to be there, and got to work with a couple people on the grounds that helped us out a great deal as well. Miss Kitty, I found you right after I retired in March last year. Been mostly lurking ever since. Love it here. Miss Kitty, thank you. That is a gorgeous cat. Oh my goodness. So soft. I can tell from here. Sarah Boone's attorneys are all filing for payments. Each is asking for the total $15,000. The $15,000 is what they would get from start to finish if they represented her from day one till the conclusion of her case. That's the $15,000. All of them want that cut. And I don't know how they can do that. I think the body that the rules on that, I think the JAC or something like that, has pushed back and said no, and they're all sort of pushing for it. I think all of them deserve some payments, but how do you pay an attorney who covered the case for a couple months and the whole time the client was like, he's never meeting with me? How do you pay him the full amount for representation? Let's see. Been here since Daryl Brooks, says DMB. Sorry, I can't click on this one. I'm trying. Chat's going fast. Was the first channel I ever became a member for. Thank you, DMB. Thank you. One of our OGs on the channel. Court is late. Found you first and love your channel, says Holly Mac. You recommended Brandy, so I checked your channel out, and I've been a mod for 13th Juror for over a year. Love both channels. Thank you, Holly Mac. Love what you guys do for Brandy over there. You guys are amazing. Thank you for supporting her. She's incredible. Speaking of incredible support, both for my channel and Brandy's, Nurse for God just gifted 5 memberships as well. Super generous supporter of both channels. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Nurse for God. And have to say thank you for the wind chimes. They were delivered, and it was quite meaningful. I want to say thank you on that. You know what that's about. Let's see. Jinx says, how long did you have your channel until you found your place and got a following? Great question while we wait for court. I started this channel, I called it Recovery Addict, when I had the idea that I would make videos about recovering artifacts from the ground, metal detecting. And I thought people would watch those. I made some videos. Very few people watched them. I think I had less than 600 subscribers, somewhere around there. And that was over several years. I let that channel sit dormant, even though it had privileges to live stream. But it sat dormant until the day I started going live. I think it was with Daryl Brooks. And it was just like on a whim. I was looking for work and couldn't find any. And at least not any that fit what my family needed. And I told my wife, I'm not going to look for a job today. I'm just going to live stream, just take a break. And we had 13 people watch the live stream that first day. Some of these 13 people are here with us. Most of them are. And it was incredible. I had so much fun interacting, talking, watching court, learning together. They said, are you coming back the next day? And I said, sure. I don't have any job, so yes. Next day we had 45 people. Next day we had 450. And the fourth day we had 13,000 plus people visit our channel. And on that day I met all the metrics for YouTube monetization as far as, with thousands of new subscribers, tens of thousands of watch hours. And at that point I said, this is something I want to do. So I will say that is not normal. What happened for me was just incredible. I feel incredibly blessed, very lucky and fortunate to have discovered this amazing community and have been accepted so quickly. But normally people work for years to get to 1,000 subscribers. Please check out Brandy really quick. All my screens are tied up is my only problem. I can't put her on the screen. The only screens I can use are ones that are only on my desk. Let's see, what is Brandy doing? Oh my goodness. Okay, Brandy is making a thumbnail as well, it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna drag this up here. We'll find a way to I'm gonna get rid of chat for a minute, guys. Sorry, so I can bring this on the screen. Let's bring this over. Oh, she's done. I'll see if I can find it. Court's starting.
Taking place outside the presence of the jury panel. Are you ready to go, Mr. Hamner?
Yes, Your Honor. And I guess we should try to make a record of the situation.
Go ahead.
So it sounds as if the FOIA request, that production, based on their policies, claws back personal information. I don't know if they've been able to acquire that information through the process of this investigation. The state has all of the messages, which has been produced to the bench, so they have that as well. So we understand why there can't be a joint stipulation to those messages, but certainly, this issue will be inquired into cross based off of this testimony. If I have no issue, I'll be inquiring based on the policy that he was aware of. So that'll be happening. Whether they want to admit Teams messages that are just limited only to business information, that's up to them. But we don't have a way to efficiently produce that to them.
So we don't have a stipulation?
We don't have a stipulation, but in discussing this with the state and with Mr. Tellis, we are just going to leave his testimony as it stands, and we will not be seeking to admit. There's been an argument that he'd open the door, but that's set aside. He is not going to be seeking to admit the information that was provided to him at that time.
It was already admitted.
Is that fair?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the state's ready?
The state's let him off easy.
Also the thing that you said would be produced and admitted later, if we got that, the K3.
No, that's the thing.
Oh, that is what it is?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
It's marked as K3 for the record, but obviously we just won't admit it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring him in. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Tellis, you can take the stand. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, you can. Sorry, Mr. Tellis, you can take the stand. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm trying to fix the audio here to get the best
Thank you.
version I can for you.
Yeah, you can.
See that microphone with the red light on it? That's the one I want. Sort of floating there on that little mount. This is now Mr. Hamner's turn. Prosecution gets to cross-examine him.
All rise for entering jury, please.
His tie is looking much better than it did the other day. Still yellow.
Thank you, roll call be seated.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel?
Yes.
And Mr.
Yes.
Hudson? Okay, you may begin your cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Sir.
And it's Mr. Tellis, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to start first with see if we can agree on a couple of things, okay?
Give me a minute to sync up the video.
I was listening to your testimony. I'm going to publish States 311. I was listening to your testimony, and if I heard you correctly, many times during your direct you stated that this is the killer of Mr. Gammon, correct?
I didn't necessarily, but I'm sure it is.
I mean, if I heard you correctly, you kept saying, looking at the killer, this guy. I know you're not saying that's me, but you don't doubt that whoever that is killed Mr. Gammon. That would be fair, right?
Yes.
Okay. You had mentioned one of the things that struck you was you watched the autopsy, or you saw the autopsy photos, and you were struck by the violence of it, correct?
No, sir.
No, you did not? Were you bothered by the photographs?
I was.
And why is that?
Gruesome. I'm not used to seeing dead people.
Okay. I think you said it was ugly. Is that correct?
I may have.
All right. And you had told this jury that you felt like it looked like someone who knew what they were doing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You believe this was a professional hit?
And that's what I believe.
Okay. And you believe this killer is kind of almost like someone hired to do this job, like an assassin, essentially, right?
That is what I believe, yes, sir.
All right. Now I want to take a look at this picture for a second. The assassin seems to be wearing a giant sun hat. It's a pretty big hat, right?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Fairly noticeable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You think that might attract attention?
I would think so.
Okay, but this is a professional.
Right.
All right. And this professional is also wearing a bright orange shirt, correct?
Yes, sir.
Professional?
Yes, sir.
But wouldn't that attract attention?
I think that's part of the reason, actually. If I could elaborate.
No. You believe that professional assassins want to draw attention to themselves when they're carrying out murder. That's your testimony?
When they're framing someone, yes, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes. You believe professional assassins like to draw attention to themselves.
It depends on what the nature of their goal is, and if it's to frame someone, yes, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's getting good.
Your professional assassin is wearing a big saddlebag, right?
It's a big bag.
Right. He's wearing Nikes, correct?
Correct.
Not generic shoes, Nikes, isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. Gray Nikes, is that right?
Correct.
All right.
He's just warming up.
Let's cue over to the overhead, if we could. or to the computer if we could. All right. I'm playing the PIO video from Exhibit 338. So this is your assassin walking in the middle of the day, correct?
My assassin?
All right, Paul. This is the assassin, the killer, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Seems to have a little bit of a hitch in his getup.
Yes. I don't know. I guess it's an opinion.
And you don't disagree that's from, you've seen all the footage. That's the killer's car, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a maroon Denali. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
You own a maroon Denali, isn't that correct?
I do, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me at least get to. Let's look at it for a second. So there's no doubt.
Those are the same.
The killer took
those
a
wheels are the
maroon
same.
Yukon Denali to Garman's house to perform, as you have explained to us, to be some sort of professional hit.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. So, I'd like to publish the PowerPoint, if we could.
What exhibit that?
It's still from Exhibit 338, Your Honor. But it is the PowerPoint video. And I want to turn our attention to
Lovely keeps calling it the
slide
assassin.
number 72. This is after Mr. Garman has been killed, but if we watch this footage, isn't it true that we see the killer come back to the scene?
Yes.
And the killer seems to be looking around as if he forgot something, right?
I've watched the video. I don't know what he's doing.
You don't know.
Right,
But
right.
we know a professional killer killed someone in broad daylight, made it a point to park on a completely different street, but then for some reason decided, oops, I forgot something, and drove all the way back.
My belief is that he wanted to make sure to commit the crime, and then when he was done, he wanted to make sure the SUV was seen in front of the house.
So let me get this straight. We've watched the footage, right, Mr. Tellis?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that the Yukon parks on Wintergreen initially?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the streets, but I mean, if you say so, yes.
We'll put it to you this way. He didn't park on Bronze Circle, did he?
Not initially, no.
And by your logic, if the killer wanted to be seen, shouldn't he have just parked on Bronze Circle originally?
Well, I would have thought that, if he wanted to make sure he got the job done first, that he would not have actually parked the SUV in front to begin with. That's my belief, because, again, that isn't me.
So you have a killer who goes all the way out of his way to park on a completely different street, walks the whole length, does the killing, drives out of the complex, and then makes a U-turn, comes all the way back into the complex, pulls up, gets out, looks around for something, and you believe that's all part of the assassin's plan?
And again, I don't know what he's doing in that video.
No, I'm just using your words, your thought process.
Absolutely.
You believe that was all part of the plan?
I do. It wasn't me, so.
Sir, doesn't that look a little amateurish?
I would like to think that I wouldn't use my own car if I was actually the person who did this.
Well, doesn't it look a little amateurish to take the steps to park on the side of the street, then you forget what you dropped, probably your murder weapon, who knows, wear this goofy sun hat, a bright orange shirt. I mean, you really think that looks like a professional killer?
I do. Again, it wasn't me, so yes.
All right, sir. And when you looked at the car, you thought, gosh, that looks just like my vehicle, right?
Except for the rims, yes, sir.
Sure, we'll get to the rims in a second. In fact, let's talk about that right now.
Yes, sir.
The rims match. I think they match.
Let's go to slide 41. One second.
Look at the breathing. Look at the breathing. Holy cow.
Sorry, slide 40. All right. So, you see You see that picture right here of the rims?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sir, do you see, if we're talking like clock positions, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, you know what I'm talking about, if I'm referring to that?
12 o'clock is north?
Yes. So 12 o'clock is probably to the top, and then you've got 6 o'clock is to the bottom. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So look at this bottom right-hand picture. Isn't it true that when you look at the front wheel, the spokes on this wheel are not all the same size, correct?
Right.
They alternate in thickness, correct?
Correct.
At the 12 o'clock position, it's a narrow spoke, right?
Yes, sir.
And then the next two on either side of it widen out, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And in the 6 o'clock position, that's a fat, wide spoke, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's surrounded by two narrow spokes, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it totals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different spokes, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And just to be clear, whenever you look at one spoke, let's say at the 12 o'clock position, when you look at the opposite position, it's the thicker one, right?
Yes, sir.
And so if you look at a smaller one, if you look the opposite direction, it's going to be thicker, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that, when we look at the picture of this widened spoke on the killer's car, you see that on this wheel on the front, and you see it on the back wheel. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now let's see the picture of his car from the police station.
We could cue over. That's your car, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt about it, is it?
No, I don't believe so.
That is the car that you don't normally drive, isn't that right? Because you drive a BMW.
Right. I drive it occasionally to make sure that the battery doesn't die.
Right. Let's look at your wheels, because your testimony was, my rims are different. Let's look, no, sir, a question pending. Let's look at the front tire. You see the front tire?
Yes, sir.
The one closest to the 12 o'clock position is thick, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
The one directly opposite that, closest to the 6 o'clock position, is narrow, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Just like the car in the video, isn't that correct?
It has the same type of rims, yes.
It does, but that's not what you just told that jury on direct examination. You said you looked at a tweet from General Bob Custer, and you thought, oh gosh, my rims are different. Remember you told them that?
Yes,
You
because
relied on some person in the Twitterverse named General Bob Custer to give you peace of mind about whether or not your car matches the killer's car.
yes,
So, now looking at your rims, because let's look at them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spokes on that wheel, correct?
yes, sir.
Just like the killer's car.
Similar to the killer's car, yes,
Not
sir.
similar, exactly like it, correct?
But they're not the same rims.
No. Sir, then let's take it this way. The 12 o'clock position is a fat, wide spoke, correct?
Yes, sir.
The 6 o'clock position is arrow, correct?
Yes,
When we look at the photograph of the killer's car, it had that same pattern, isn't that right?
What about
Yes,
the
sir.
brake
And when
placement?
we look at the
The
other
weight
rims,
placement.
let's say we're looking at a rim here in about the 1 o'clock position, it's narrow, correct?
yes, sir.
And when we look at the opposite, it thickens, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just like the killer's car in the video, right?
Again, similar to the killer's car.
Right. And it's the same way on all of your wheels, isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, if we could cue back over to the PowerPoint presentation.
Mr.
Let's
Hamler.
look at these windows. Bottom right-hand corner, sir. The front windows are not tinted, are they?
No, sir.
But the back ones are, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's cue over to your car. Your front windows are not tinted, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And your back ones are, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Coincidence?
I don't think so. I think the killer got a car like mine.
Okay. So you would agree your car looks exactly like the killer's car?
No, sir.
No, it doesn't?
There's a difference with that paint on the lower left-hand side that Mr. Maga testified about.
Okay. Let's talk about other similarities. We've seen footage from the video with the visor down, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I could pull up the slide, but we don't need to because you remember seeing it on the survey, on the videos, right, from the PowerPoint?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, publishing 317. And look at that. Your visor's down, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're suggesting that your professional hitman in the funny hat knew about your visor as well?
I'm saying that Mr. Mogg pulled my visor down.
Ah, but you didn't see that, did you, sir?
I didn't see him do it, but...
Right. You didn't see it with your own two eyes, correct?
That is correct.
You're just telling it out of whole cloth, correct? You're speculating. Isn't that right?
I'm speculating just to the extent of who exactly did it, but sure.
Right. You don't even know who it was, correct?
It could have been another officer, yes.
Okay. So now it's not just Officer Mogg that's part of this conspiracy. There's other officers too. How many officers were part of this conspiracy?
I don't know.
Well, please tell me. How many do you think are involved?
I couldn't tell you, sir.
So you have no idea, but you think it might be Mogg and another officer, but you just can't come up with a number, correct?
Well, Mr. Mogg actually made some false representations about what happened. So yes. Okay. I mean, so
Sir,
I don't know what his motivation would be otherwise.
Sir, isn't it possible that in your rush to drive back home, you just didn't even realize that the down visor might even be something of significance? Isn't that possible?
No, sir.
No. So you believe that it must have been the police, but you never witnessed anything like that happen.
I just know that I did not commit the murder, so that could not have been my call.
I understand you're not taking responsibility, sir, but just to get back to my question, you never saw anyone manipulate your car, correct?
I never saw anyone firsthand, no.
Thank you. But the visor is down, just like the killer.
And anyone could have removed it at any point in time, sir.
The answer to my question is yes. The visor is down, just like the killer's Yukon, correct?
Anyone could have moved it at any point.
So the answer to my question is yes. The visor is down, just like the killer's car.
You're talking about, obviously, at this point in time...
Your visor is down in your Yukon, just like the killer's Yukon, correct?
And again, without knowing who did it, yes.
Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Hamner's on fire.
You were here yesterday and you talked for approximately 2 hours. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then you came here this morning and you talked for another hour or so, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's one thing I didn't hear you mention. The DNA. I'd like to talk about that with you. You're not disputing that your DNA is underneath Mr. Gehrman's fingernails, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. But you've heard the testimony. It's there, correct?
I don't know if it was there or at what point it might have gotten there, sir.
Okay. I'm not asking you how it got there. Are you really denying that your DNA is underneath the fingernails?
Without knowing the truth, yes, I am.
Okay. Well, you've heard witnesses testify.
Right.
So the DNA lab's in on it too?
I don't know. I don't know at what point. I don't know what point the sample was collected.
Sir, please tell this jury, how in the world does your DNA get underneath Mr. Gehrman's fingernails?
I don't know because I did not kill Mr. Gehrman.
You have no idea how it could have gotten underneath your fingernails, correct?
Under my fingernails?
I'm sorry, under his fingernails, correct?
I don't know that it ever was, sir.
All right. Let's do it another way. You and Mr. Gehrman are not friends, are you?
No.
Okay. You don't hang out with him ever?
Sir, I did not ever hang out with Mr. Gehrman when he was alive.
My question is yes. You didn't hang out with him ever, correct?
I did not.
He's never invited you over to his house.
No, sir.
You've never hung out, had drinks at a bar, correct?
No, sir.
There would be really no opportunity for him ever to put his hands on you in any sort of social situation, correct?
Correct, sir.
And yet, these two people who are not friends, your DNA just happens to be underneath his fingernails. Correct?
No, sir.
Okay. You just don't think it was legitimately placed there, correct? Or are you just ignoring the testimony of all of the witnesses that talked about how your DNA was underneath the fingernails?
Again, at some point or another, I believe it was planted because I did not kill Mr. Gehrman.
So, and by that logic, if you believe it was planted, you were at least admitting, yes, my DNA is underneath his fingernails, correct? Can you at least agree with me on that?
Whether it came from a sample of the fingernails or a different sample altogether, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, sir.
The answer to my question is yes. You're at least acknowledging
No, sir.
Physical DNA is underneath the fingernail?
No, sir.
Okay, great. So you're just going to disregard what all the other DNA witnesses said about this, correct?
And,
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. Totally fine.
Wow.
Let's, I still want to touch on this. You would agree that if I came up to you and I scratched your face or scratched your chest, there's a possibility I could get skin cells underneath my fingernails, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You would agree that if someone was trying to fight for their life and were scratching at the killer, they could potentially get DNA from the killer underneath their fingernail. That's a possibility, right?
Is that speculation or is that?
No, I'm just asking you if it's a possibility.
I would imagine so.
Okay. Let's talk about
this is my lying
your
face.
house for a second. When they went over to your house, they took a look underneath your couch. Publishing 224. That's your couch, right?
That is my couch.
And underneath your couch is a shoe and a chopped up shoe, right?
Right.
Okay. That's the gray Nike, correct?
Pure so, yes, sir.
It's the photography version of a slow zoom.
That's what it looks like, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's gray in color, correct?
Yes.
It is a Nike brand, correct?
Yes, sir.
It has a black swoosh, correct?
Yes, sir.
It has 4 horizontal, or at least vertical bars in the middle of that shoe, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You would agree with me. That's the shoe that the killer was wearing, correct?
I don't know that that's the case.
You don't know? Well, it sure looks a heck of a lot like it, right?
Yes, it could be the same model, but it could be a different size.
Sure. Let's just look at it.
I don't disagree that it's the same model.
Right. It's the exact same type of shoe, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're not in dispute about it. We can agree on that, right?
Right, yes, sir.
And your DNA is in those shoes that are found in your house, correct?
I don't know that to be the case.
Okay, but that's the whole thing of it's a setup and I think the DNA people are framing me. Something along those lines, right?
Whether it's them or someone else?
You've heard the results. The results say that your DNA is in that shoe. We did hear that, correct?
That is what we heard.
Okay. And you just think it's just another part of the conspiracy to somehow get your DNA into those shoes.
So I believe that there are officers who, when they think that a fellow officer needs help plugging holes in the case, that they're willing to do what they have to.
Pad the evidence.
All right. You characterize this case as a case that has holes?
I think that Detective Jappy decided he wanted me for this, and everybody decided to assist him because they thought...
Jappy's a part of it now, too.
Oh, he's always been.
We've got the DNA lab, we've got Jappy, we've got Mog. We haven't even touched Compass yet. We will. We'll get there, because they're part of it, too, correct?
So they paid Detective Jappy, yes.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to get to all that in a second.
Of course, absolutely, sir.
So,
we'll put a pin in it for now. We'll circle back.
Are the shoes underneath the sofa of your house, are those actually your shoes?
That I don't know for sure. I do have similar ones, but again, I have not,
Oh, you similar? Publishing 360.
Bonnie, welcome to the gallery.
It's the same shoe, isn't it?
It is potentially the same shoe as the one, yes.
Well, sir, you're not doubting that this is a photograph of shoes that belong to you, correct?
Right.
Yes,
This is me.
So this wasn't planted evidence, right?
The picture of the shoe, no.
Okay, great. And you were claiming ownership over that shoe, right?
Right.
So it's gray in color, right? It's got the black Nike swoosh, correct?
Right.
It's got the 4 black horizontal bars in it, right? And you would agree with me, when you wore those shoes, you probably left your DNA behind there in those shoes, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're saying now that it's just a pure coincidence that the exact same type of shoe sitting underneath your couch in your house with your DNA on it, that's not the shoe?
Remember that I was under surveillance by Detective Jappy, and this was on a day that I was under surveillance.
Let's get back to my question, sir.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell me that the shoe that you see in that photograph, that you claim ownership on, that you say you put your DNA in, that looks identical to the shoe that's underneath your sofa underneath the recliner. You're saying those two are not the same shoes?
I don't know that they are.
Okay. It's just another crazy coincidence, right?
When somebody chops up a shoe and puts it under the couch, that's a little strange.
Right. And here's the interesting thing. Look at the date on this. This is August 19th, right?
Yes, sir. And again, surveillance started at 8/16.
Right. No. But this image is in your phone, right?
This particular image, I'm sure. I'd likely texted it to my wife to say, "Hey, I'm rock climbing indoors."
So here's the thing. How? Oh, so you're saying, okay. So you believe because you were under surveillance, what? That they knew the type of shoes you were wearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've seen the photos from the surveillances, right?
I have seen some of the photos from some of them. Not everything was produced to me.
You're not wearing the Nikes.
Not everything was produced to me, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Of what was produced to you, which was everything.
It was not.
You're not wearing the Nikes on the days that you're surveilled, isn't that right?
This 8/19 was during.
I need to focus on my question. Isn't it true on the days that you were surveilled, you're not wearing the Nikes, correct?
That is not true.
Okay. So we'll pull them and we'll take a walk down that lane, because every single day, isn't it true you are not wearing the Nikes?
That is not true, sir.
Okay, you're wearing your little moccasins, the gray ones, the topsiders. Remember those? You own those, right?
You own gray
topsiders, right?
What are topsiders? I don't know.
I'm dating myself, I guess. But they're like a boat shoe. They're kind of like it's like almost like a grayish felt, but they're not Nikes. You were wearing those when you were surveilled, correct?
If you want to put the photos up, I can confirm whatever.
The answer to my question is no, you don't know the answer as to what shoes you're wearing on the days you were surveilled.
I have like a tan shoe that I probably wore during some surveillance.
Don't worry. We'll get the photos and we'll go through it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's the thing. If Compass Realty framed you, how in the world would they know about these shoes?
Again, I said that I was under surveillance by Metro on this date, 8/19, and obviously they took photos, and they provided those to Detective Jappy.
Okay.
So
what? And then Jappy did what with them?
Passed them to whomever he needed to. Again, I didn't commit the murder, so.
Okay. So, sir, there's no way Compass Realty could know you had shoes like that.
They're not without being informed.
Okay. And this phone and this data about your phone isn't produced until after you're arrested, correct?
I don't know when it was produced.
Okay. You had your phone with you on the day that you're arrested, right?
Yes, sir.
Like, you didn't give it to Jappy in early September, did you?
No, sir.
No, you had it with you the whole time until you get arrested, right?
That I know, yes, sir.
And that was on September 7th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, the only way anyone could learn about information inside your phone would have to be after the murder was committed, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. You think there's a way that someone could have found the contents of your phone prior to the murder?
We heard earlier about the fact that someone can actually hack phones, yes. And whether it was that they found it that way or by surveillance?
We heard about the hack. It was just a question asked by your attorney. No witness ever testified that your phone was hacked, correct?
But you asked if there was only one means, and no, there's more than one means, sir.
Okay. Sir, let's just be clear about one thing. You have had possession of your phone through the entire month of August of 2022, correct?
It wasn't in my sight 24/7.
Sure, but you weren't loaning to anyone, correct?
I left it home on the
You didn't give it
night.
to Compass Realty, correct?
That would be weird.
Yeah, it would be. You didn't give it to Derek Jappy, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't give it to Cliff Mogg, correct?
No, sir.
Because you didn't even know who Cliff Mogg was at that point, correct?
No, sir.
You didn't give your phone to anybody from Metro, correct?
That's correct, sir.
All right, so now let's get to some of the other interesting things that are in your phone. Oh, by the way, and you also have DNA on the scissors, right? Or are we denying that? Or is that one you're at least acknowledging because of the cooking thing?
No, my blood was on those scissors.
Okay, so Metro got that one right.
Yes.
That wasn't a frame job.
No, well, I do think that they used some of the DNA from that, but
Before we move on, I gotta ask you this too. So So, like, if Metro's really, so you think Metro's framing you for this?
As I said before, I think that we've got some officers who are overzealous and who've decided to help Jappy plug holes in his case, not knowing what his relationship was with Compass Realty.
Here's a objection, sir. If you'd be allowed to answer the question before.
Okay.
The next question, please.
Sir, I got a question for you. If the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department wanted to frame you, why didn't they put the murder weapon in your house?
I think that maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I mean,
great question, because if the murder weapon that had Gehrman's DNA was inside your house, wouldn't that be an even better case?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think
But it's not there, is it?
No.
No, it's not.
Where is
Even
it?
though, according to you, they control everything, they don't put the murder weapon on you?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
I think it does.
Okay. How about this? If Compass Realty wants to kill you, why don't they encourage Metro, like, we'd really like you to put the murder weapon in there? Why didn't they do something like that?
I don't know.
That seems really odd, that the most significant thing is not in your house, correct?
I think what's odd is that 5 days after the murder, that supposedly there was a shoe and also a hat in my house.
So the answer to my question, the most significant piece of evidence, the murder weapon, is not in your house, despite your theory you've been framed.
That's correct, sir.
Let's talk about this. We've seen the picture of the killer. What's the most notable thing, by far the most notable thing, on the killer's person?
It's either the hat or the shirt.
It's the shirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that shirt is not in your house, is it?
No.
If Metro or Compass or Rita or Cliff all wanted to frame you, why didn't they put the bright orange coat in your house?
I couldn't speak to that. All I can tell you is...
Doesn't that sound not very professional if they're trying to set you up?
I don't know. Maybe for plausibility's sake, they put half the stuff
they want
in
to
there.
dial it back.
I don't know.
We don't
Okay.
go all the way.
Here's another thing. Why don't they cover your car in Gehrman's DNA? Why did they do that?
Because they didn't have access to the car until the day that Mr. Mogg took photos.
But they have, I mean, they control everything. They take it to their CSI garage and rub it full of DNA. Why is there no DNA of Gehrman in your car? I mean, if they want to frame you, why isn't it there? Do you have an answer for that?
Sir, I don't know.
Okay. But one of the things that we do know is that prior to your arrest, you do in fact wash that car, correct?
The exterior only.
You still wash it, correct?
Oh, yes.
And your testimony to this jury was, after Rita told me about the tweets about the car that I found so strikingly similar, I went out and washed my car. You told them that on direct. Isn't that correct?
No, sir.
Do you mean Roberta?
I meant Roberta. After Roberta told you, gosh, that looks just like your car, and you read John Custer's tweet, you went out and that prompted you to start washing the Yukon.
No.
That's not your testimony.
No. I said that I washed all 3 vehicles.
Great. Including your Yukon.
Yes.
Right. Because you'd agree if you only wash one of them, that might look a little suspicious, right?
I don't know that I was planning things to be suspicious or not suspicious, sir.
Okay. But let's just be clear. You would agree with me, washing things can make evidence go away. Isn't that right?
I would think DNA evidence would be inside of a vehicle, not on the outside, sir.
Okay. Sir, you'd be surprised.
Okay.
But that's not the
I guess I would be surprised then.
My question is this. Washing things can make evidence go away, correct?
Could it possibly? Yes.
Thank you.
This is my lying face.
Let's continue down the path of what's in your phone. Going to be, I hope I didn't ruin this. I'm going to be, let's see if this pulls up. We're going to be publishing Exhibit 354. Sure. Let's close out of this.
Wow.
look at. All right, let's look at this. Well, let's do it. We'll do it this way. We're gonna, if we could just cue over for a second to the overhead.
Who's talking?
This is this extraction report that has a lot of images regarding Google Maps in your phone. Do you remember hearing testimony about this?
That's what I heard.
Okay. And the date on this is August 12th of 2022. Isn't that correct? That's when these files appear. Isn't that right?
That's when it purports to have appeared.
Okay. Sir, you would agree with me. You don't actually have to go to Bronze Circle to get Google Maps to generate these images, correct? All you have to do is go to the website. Isn't that right?
For any location, sure. Yes.
Sure. And this is what, about 2 to 3 weeks before Mr. Gehrman is killed?
If we can trust the date, yes.
All right.
If we can trust the date.
Sir,
this is your phone.
Let's. I'm opening the folder that says Bronze Circle. If we could cue over, please.
Looks like a packed courtroom for this.
That's Jeff Gehrman's house, correct?
I have come to learn that it is his house.
That's a great point. You've come to learn that. Because prior to this all happening, you had never been over to the house, correct?
Correct.
You'd have no reason to be over at that house, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
You don't even know where he lives, because I'm sure Mr. Gehrman didn't give you his personal address.
That is absolutely correct.
And yet the weird thing is, when we go through these images, when we start getting to like the Google Maps data, like that's his house, right?
It looks like that is the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing, that's his house, right?
It appears to be.
Like if we look over here in the back, that's literally the very spot where Mr. Gehrman breathes his last breath. Isn't that right?
Objection to all speculation.
Sustained.
That's the very last spot that we see Mr. Gehrman from that body cam, right? He's lying right over there.
It looks like a similar area.
Similar. It's the area, isn't it?
If you say so, sure.
So you don't believe that's the spot?
I mean, it looks like the house, so I would think.
How about there? Isn't that where Mr. Gehrman was found by the police?
And I would think likely so.
And the very spot that his body is lying is inside your phone.
That is very strange. I mean, how does someone plan to have a victim in a particular area at their home? That's again.
So you would agree with me that if you were planning to kill someone at their house, it might be a good idea to get a lay of the land, right?
I've never plotted to kill anyone.
Oh, I didn't say you. I'm just talking hypothetically. You would agree with me that if you were planning to kill someone, it might be a good idea to get a lay of the land, correct?
I object. It's a hypothetical question. He's not an expert, so.
Overrule, take an answer.
Let me ask you that question one more time. You'd agree with me. If you're planning on killing someone, it's a good idea to get the lay of the land, right?
I don't know. I don't know what the circumstances are. I don't know what you're talking about as far as where you want to, do this deed or whatever.
Mr. Tellis, if you wanted, let's do it. You don't want to answer the question. We'll do it another way.
Again, I'd object to characterization.
Mr. Tellis, if you're planning on doing something, you want to prepare for it, correct?
It depends on what you're planning to do.
Okay. How about your work? As a public administrator, did you prepare every day to go to work to be competent at what you're doing?
Yes.
Did you do that because it's important to do the job correctly?
Yes, sir.
And if the stakes are really big, you want to make sure you're super prepared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's over 100 images of Bronze Circle neighborhood in your house, correct? In your phone. Isn't that right?
I don't know that they are, sir.
Okay. Well, then let's start clicking.
Here we go.
Plus two, again, I wouldn't use my card. It's
not my question. My question is, This is contained in your phone, right, sir?
I don't believe so.
Okay, you don't believe so?
If it is in there, I didn't put it there, sir.
Okay, so the answer is it's there, but you didn't put it there, correct?
Again, I do not know that it's there, and I certainly did not put it there.
Okay, so we're just... Okay, sir. You did...
You're asking me to testify something that I can't tell you is true.
Right. But you did hear the testimony of someone coming and said, I looked in his phone and that stuff is there, correct?
That's what they said.
It's the same phone that your expert looked at, correct? To extract Celebrite data from, right? It's the exact same phone, correct?
Sure.
Did you ever hear Mr. Aguero ever say that your phone was compromised in any way? Did you ever hear that from him?
We never asked him that question.
Okay, but he didn't say it, did he?
The question was never asked.
Right. He looked at your data, he prepared a report, and alerted no one to any problems with your phone, correct?
I don't know.
That's what I would object to. He was not called upon to review the phone. He reviewed the Celebrite extraction from the phone. So I object to this line of questioning.
We can move on. You heard from Matt Hovanec from the DFL department. He testified that there weren't any issues with this phone, correct? When he looked at data that came from it, correct?
He said that, I guess they try not to modify contents of things, but he didn't say that it was impossible.
Okay. Here, well, we can do this too. You got up on direct examination and you went through message by message by message, and you didn't complain about any of the messages that were on September 2nd, correct?
I dispute.
I object as to complain.
Rephrase the question.
Sure. You offered testimony to this jury about the timeline, correct?
Yes.
You went text by text and phone call by phone call, and you explained things, right?
Right.
At no point did you say, oh, there's a problem here, correct?
Correct.
You had no problem with that information, did you?
Right.
Okay. Sir, do you find it a little bit strange that when you find information that's helpful for you in your phone, you don't think there's a problem with it, but when there's damaging evidence in your phone, you believe maybe it's been hacked or compromised?
I do think that if someone was trying to frame me, that obviously they would leave the content that I made on the phone as well as whatever they decided to put on there. Yes.
And as we see here, like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different houses are being photographed, correct?
If that is truly what was on my phone, then supposedly sure.
Okay. Here's a good example. In this image, there's a security camera being focused on in the image, correct?
That's what it appears to be, which brings up a question that I would have.
There's no question pending, and you're going to get a chance on redirect. You'll be able to say whatever you need to say. But let's be clear. There's an image that isolates on a security camera for the next door neighbor with Mr. Garriman. And it's right there,
Making
isn't
those
it?
notes to bring up. Hang on one second.
Yeah.
I'm putting a pin in it.
It is. There's one right there.
And here was something I remember you told me about. When you started out, what was your first job again?
IT.
IT. You've got a technical background, correct?
Right.
I believe even on direct examination, you described yourself as a techie, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
So you know your way around a computer, right?
Right.
Fair to say you know your way around different software, correct?
Right.
Fair to say you know your way around a cell phone, right?
Right.
You certainly know how to use Google Maps, right?
I think a lot of people do.
Right. Anyone could use that, correct?
Right.
And you would consider yourself a fairly thorough person in your work as a public administrator, right?
More thorough than to do something like this, sure.
You consider yourself detail-oriented?
I do.
Okay. Can we cue over for 1 second to the overhead? There's over 132 images in your phone focusing on that. Would you say that's a lot of detail?
If that was on my phone, I guess I would say yes.
Okay. And then let's talk about the Popeyes thing, Publishing 364.
Popeyes.
Do you remember these images?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I remember taking these. It was a
I
hot
remember
day
them
that
being
day.
presented as being allegedly on my phone.
Right. The testimony was it was on your phone. You just don't believe you had anything to do with it, correct?
Again, I don't know that they were ever on my phone. I know that I did not take those photos.
Okay, so you're just denying what you heard.
I am saying that whatever the testimony is, that it could have been placed on my phone, or who knows.
The testimony was it was found on your phone, correct?
It was allegedly found on an image of my phone.
Okay. So, if we could cue over to the overhead, or the computer. We talked about being detailed-oriented. You would agree this is numerous images from the same spot, correct?
It appears so.
And if we kind of look, and I just can't see because of the monitor. I mean, we're looking at, that's a sedan, correct?
Yes.
Sedan, correct? Well, it's like a minivan, but it's gray in color, right?
It's like a crossover.
And that's gray in color, right?
Sure.
And that's a truck. That's kind of a whitish gray, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another gray car, correct?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Another gray sedan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This one's a Honda, right?
Sure.
Or maybe that's not a Honda. I don't want to misspeak. That might be a Kia.
It looks like a Honda.
Okay, it's a Honda.
I think, or unless it's a Hyundai.
Or a Hyundai. I'm not sure. It kind of looks like an H.
It's like, I remember that one.
We've got
it
an
was a
SUV here, but there's a lot of images here, correct?
Bird.
Yes.
You got the bird.
Okay. And according to this report, if we could cue over.
Pigeon business for the win.
101, correct?
That's what it alleges.
That's a lot of photos, correct?
It would be.
It looks like surveillance, doesn't it?
It looks like a stupid way to do surveillance.
Right, looks kind of amateurish, doesn't it?
Right.
Not professional.
He has to admit this is an amateur job. The witness.
I wouldn't see how that makes sense.
And then, sir, another thing located in your phone.
Maybe we can zoom in on the bird's eye and see the reflection of the photographer.
Can we cue over to the overhead? Sir, what are we looking at here?
Looks like it's a identification of a vehicle that is owned by Mr. Gurman.
It's a Honda, right?
Yes, sir.
And we know from the photographs earlier, his Honda is gray, correct?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention to the color with the earlier testimony. Sorry.
You have no reason to dispute me if I told you that the color of the car was gray, correct?
I don't, sir.
Okay. And we saw in those images lots of gray cars were getting snapped, correct?
Yeah, I saw a black one and a white one, but yes.
And you know what that program that's pulling up that information is, don't you, Mr.?
That I do, yes.
That's IDI Core, correct?
Right.
That is proprietary software that is in fact used by the Public Administration's Office, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
It gives the person at the Public Administration's Office the ability to look up personally identifying information about people, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we can see here that Jeffrey Guerin is being looked up on IDI Core, correct?
What I remember correctly looking at this was it was looked up by address.
Well, that's just one report, sir. Let's look at this result. We can see connected.
What's the search term?
There's no question pending, sir.
Okay.
Take a look at registrants. What's the registrant?
Again, it's Jeffrey M. Gurman.
Right. And if we look down, what's the first address associated with this?
P.O. Box.
Okay. And then we go to the next entry. What's the address associated with Mr. Guerin? 7216. It's the second one related to Mr. Gurman. There's a first one related to Mr. Gurman. And that's the P.O. Box, which is current. The second one is 7216 Bronze Circle, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89. I can't read this. Mr. Tellis, that's where Mr. Guerin lived, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's where he was murdered, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this image of his personal information and his home address is located inside your phone.
Again, I don't know that it is.
Okay, so we're just, again, we don't have to do the dance, but you're just not accepting the testimony that it was located on your phone?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. But you'd agree with me that from just that bottom there, that looks like a desktop monitor, a Dell desktop monitor, correct?
Correct.
And again, this has more information about Mr. Gehrman's cars, correct?
It's his work computer.
Yes, sir.
This is IDI Core, correct?
Right.
Software that is in your office, correct?
The office that Mr. Jappy visited, yes.
Okay. This is more.
Mr. Jappy did it.
This
clearly.
is again. This is more IDI Core images, correct?
Appears so, yes, sir.
Let me just come out and ask you. This is your desk, isn't it?
It probably is.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in.
Let me ask you this. During your official duties as the public administrator, I mean, you didn't have like a case with Mr. Gehrman at all, right?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay.
And what was the search term to find that?
Well, one of the search terms was 7216 Bronze Circle, correct?
Can you show that to me?
Sure. $7216 Bronze. You can cue over to the overhead. Can everybody see that? Oh, it's much better over here. This is terrible. So you can see that, right?
Yes, sir, I can.
And the date, the created time is 8/23/2022 at 6:05 p.m., correct?
Yes, that's what it reports to be.
Okay.
Reports to be.
And that was a weekday, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was, because, you know.
And there's one more thing. This wasn't converted into UTC time. So if we subtract 7 hours, that's at 11:05 a.m. in the morning on 8/23, correct?
And again, I don't know if this document's been modified by a PDF viewer or not, but it purports to be of that day.
You recall the testimony, well, no. You recall the testimony of Matt Hovanich, which said this was not converted, and when you convert it, this search was conducted at 11 o'clock in the morning, correct? You recall him saying, I'm not asking if you agree with it, but you recall it being said.
I know that I didn't do the search, so I couldn't tell you definitively.
So I'd like you to focus on my question. Do you recall Mr. Hovanich saying that here in court?
That's what he said.
Okay. And just to be clear, publishing 351, there it is. That's a weekday. That's a Tuesday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you typically have random people coming into your office using your desktop software?
Again, that could have been modified in a number of ways. In a number of ways, sir.
That's not my question. My question is, as the public administrator, did you allow people to go into your office in the middle of the day and manipulate and use your computer?
I didn't allow it, but that's not to say that it didn't happen, sir.
So the answer is, you had an edict that said you're not allowed to do this, correct?
But if I wasn't around or whatever, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, you would hope as the head of the department they would have at least not used your computer, right?
I would have hoped, but you'd be surprised what happened in that office.
Okay. Right, because of the conspiracy? Right, okay.
The conspiracy. Yep.
Isn't it true? I think we've heard from both your expert and Detective Jappy that there was no outgoing messages from your phone between 8:48 a.m. and 2:05 p.m. Correct?
Right.
Okay. You mentioned, or at least we've kind of heard this comment about, well, maybe I was hacked. Just to be clear, you never reported to anyone that your phone was hacked prior to September 2nd, correct?
I wouldn't have known about it because there didn't seem to be anything wrong with the phone at the time.
So the answer is you've never reported any situation that
I didn't have knowledge of whether it had been or not.
You've never reported that your phone was stolen, correct, prior to 9/2?
That definitely did not happen.
Okay. You never reported that your house was broken into prior to 9/2, correct?
I did not, nope.
And there aren't any text messages on your phone complaining about being hacked, right?
Again, if I was hacked, I might not have known it.
Well, and sometimes when we notice we've been hacked, some people will send out emails to people like, oh, ignore this email, I've been hacked, things like that, right?
Yeah, there are various types of hacks, sir.
Right. But there's nothing like that on your phone either, correct?
No, and again, that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't hacked. Or that somebody didn't create a false image later, or add files to that image later.
Okay. So, sir, I want to now talk to you about this conspiracy a little bit. Is Rita Reed in the conspiracy?
Well, she certainly took money from Compass Realty and Adam Fenn.
So the answer is she conspired to murder Jeff Gehrman?
I don't know to what extent she had knowledge of anything other than to make sure that I got taken down.
Taken down, so she conspired to have you framed for the murder of Jeff Gehrman?
I don't know that she was privy to that particular part of...
So she's not part of the conspiracy?
I can't say either way, sir.
Okay, so you're not tying her to this?
I don't have any evidence to tie her to this.
Can we rule her out?
Object again if you'd be allowed to answer the question.
Sir, go ahead, please finish.
What was the question
I'll
at this
ask the
point?
question again. Can we rule Rita Reed out of your conspiracy to murder Jeff Gehrman?
I think it's weird that you're... I mean, maybe it's not weird. Obviously, you've got to try to minimize the concern that I have with this and try to make me seem like I'm crazy for it. But there's the evidence to back up what has been occurring. So that is what it is, sir.
Okay, so let's focus on my question.
Children?
Can we rule out...
I don't know that we can either way, sir.
Okay, so it's possible she's part of it.
I would be surprised, but I couldn't rule it out.
Okay, so it's possible.
Anything is possible.
Okay. Alicia Goodwin, is she part of this conspiracy?
Again, part of the conspiracy, sure. Part of a conspiracy.
Let me specify. Is she part of the conspiracy to murder Jeff Gehrman?
I would think it's unlikely.
Okay, so we can rule her out.
I mean, again, I couldn't rule anything out, but certainly I think it's unlikely.
So it's possible.
Again, anything's possible, sir.
Okay, so we can't rule her out because anything's possible.
That's what I said. I said unlikely, but
Okay.
If we
understood. How about Mr. Cahill? Is he part of the conspiracy to kill Jeff Gehrman?
Yeah. Again, highly unlikely, but
you're not ruling it out.
Without further evidence, I cannot rule it out, sir.
Okay, so it's possible.
Again, anything is possible, sir.
Is Thomas Monroe, who's part of Compass Realty, I believe, is he part of this conspiracy to murder Jeff Gehrman?
Thomas More?
I apologize. Thomas More. Is he part of this?
I would think that would be likely, yes.
Okay, likely. Okay. And Compass Realty as a business as a whole is part of this as well, to kill Mr. Gehrman, correct?
Again, if you recall that the best way to take me down would be to frame me for Mr. Gehrman's murder. And so, yes, I do believe that.
And I want to write that down. You said the best way to take me out
is to
frame
for Mr. Gehrman's murder.
For killing Gehrman, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's it.
Absolutely.
Okay. You would agree, and I think you told this jury extensively on direct examination, what a thorn you were in the side of Compass Realty, correct?
I was, yes.
You fought them at every turn, correct?
Absolutely.
You thought what they were doing was improper, correct?
I think I proved that.
Okay, you thought that so much of their wrongdoing that you actually went to the police about it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were, till the moment that you were stopped working in that office, you fought against Compass Realty, correct?
I believe when that order was entered on August 30th, that shows that, absolutely.
And the issue for Compass Realty is because you were the public administrator, correct?
Right.
You stood in their way from doing the things that they wanted to do in terms of independent administrators, is that right?
Yes, sir. And in fact, again, that order was going to allow me to dig into them and actually prove, without a doubt, that Detective Jaffe was just ignoring criminal conduct, sir. Yes.
So here's the thing, though. You said that they did something else. They also donated to somebody. Who did they donate to?
That's Reed.
How much money did they donate?
$10,000.
So they thought, and let me get this straight. this is, in your opinion, the things that they were doing cost in the millions, is that right?
Absolutely.
This is $1 million scheme that they're running, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And all they could muster to fund an opponent was 10 grand?
No, campaign laws prohibit anything over $10,000.
So did any other independent employees of Compass Realty shell out money for Rita?
So there's, again, Adam Fenn and also Compass Realty.
How much?
$5,000 each. And so, you know, that's all that they needed in order to...
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you have described yourself as the sole impediment for their multi-million-dollar scheme, and the only thing that they could come up with financially to stop you is just $10,000?
No, sir.
Okay. That's your C&Es that you submitted, that's all we have, right? It's like 10 grand.
That's 10 grand on our campaign contribution report.
Right,
that is not all the money that they've given to anybody to, again, to engage in this activity.
Are you speculating at this point?
Ask if you're allowed to answer the
Okay,
question.
please finish the question.
Again, without being able to firsthand investigate, because Mr. Gurman was murdered and I had been arrested and been sitting in jail for 2 years, you know, yeah, perhaps I'm speculating, but if I'd had that authority like I had intended, you know, I would have uncovered the various different ways that they actually tried to, you know, thwart me. All the attorney's fees that they paid in order to pay these attorneys who would, again, this was an escalating situation that started basically, go on.
I mean, I think we're a little far afield of my question at this point.
Okay.
I don't know that was as responsive to my question. So let me direct you back to it. You would agree like $10,000 is really not that much money. In the world of countywide races, 10 grand, not that much, correct?
In the world of county races, it's the maximum contributions for these two guys, or these two entities.
For those two guys. But listen, if we're talking about, like, you know how politics works.
Pickles, please.
If there are businesses or special interests, they pool their money together behind a candidate, right? You don't know that, but you were.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation.
Sir, are you going to sit here and tell this jury you've run for political office twice and you don't know that businesses or special interests pool their money together to back a candidate they really want? Are you really telling them that?
And again, I don't have firsthand knowledge of that because I've never had that happen for me.
Right.
Now, if you're talking about political action committees, I don't know, what do you, PACs?
Look, the bottom line is, all they donated was 10 grand, correct?
I think that's a mischaracterization of everything they've done.
Let's move on. And then here's the crazy part. They won, right?
And I still kept fighting them, yes.
No, sir. You were a lame duck as of September 2nd, 2022. Isn't that right?
But I still continue to fight Compass Realty.
That's not my question. You're out of a job in that you're not an impediment as of January 1st. Isn't that right?
As of January 1st, but I was right then.
So you're trying to tell us that Compass Realty was so upset with you that they backed a candidate who wins, but then they just can't wait any longer, so they murder a reporter? They can't wait for 3 months?
I would recommend that the jury watch the video and again see the time at which the order was filed, and I think you might agree that yes, that is absolutely the case, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes.
That
Compass Realty, even though they successfully backed a candidate that defeated you in a primary, they couldn't wait another 3 months for you to leave office, correct?
Because I've got the authority to really crack things open then.
So again, he's answering the question. These are fairly complex questions. They require complex answers.
Sure that each of you lets the other.
Sir, are you finished?
No, sir.
Okay. So then my next question is this. If they hated you so much.
I don't think they knew me to hate me, but sure.
Well, I mean, they're willing to kill people over you, right?
I guess they would have hated me, yeah.
Right. And if they hated you so much, why didn't they just kill you?
That's a really good question, and I would like to answer it. My belief as to why they did.
Please tell me why they didn't just bother killing you.
Good.
Because if they'd killed me, would that have stopped Nevada Real Estate Division from investigating them? No. If they killed me, would anybody have felt the duty to continue my work because I was actually doing this? I think so. So murdering me would have not discredited me. It would not have put me in a position where all the work that I was doing just got left by the wayside. It would make no sense to kill me.
So your theory is that Jeff Gehrman is collateral damage?
when you've taken into account the fact that months earlier we had this public feud, it's a pretty convenient way to do this.
So the guy who writes the articles that ends your career, they reward him by killing him?
Well, again, like I said, it was a pretty good way to do this.
And let's not get it twisted. Rita and Alicia are part of the conspiracy that loop in Jeff Garriman, and they're in cahoots with Compass. So they're like, you know what? Thanks, Jeff, but you got to go. That's what you're suggesting?
And like I said, I don't know that they knew about that particular aspect of the conspiracy, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I would certainly think that they wouldn't, because you're right. I can't imagine that they would know and be okay with that, sir.
Isn't it also true that Roberta testified that once you lost, Rita Reed was actually reversing the things that you did in the office, right?
That would be her prerogative at that point.
Okay. So changes were even afoot before you had even left office, correct?
Sure.
And you even told us that once Rita took over, nothing came of the things that you wanted to do. Like, none of the things that you wanted investigated were ever done, right?
I was talking about the fact that I had this investigative authority against Compass Realty that I had just gotten just a few days before Mr. Gurman was murdered, and she never picked up that torch and ran with it. And it's clear why she didn't, because Compass Realty gave her that money, despite the fact that, as you saw, sir, she, and these homes, millions of dollars in theft, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes. Rita Reed never followed through with the things that the authority that you had, correct?
Regarding Compass Realty, yes, sir.
Thank you. And just to be clear, she was going to have full authority as of January, right?
Yes, sir.
And the authority could have gotten Compass in trouble, but that risk was eliminated once they put Rita in, according to your theory, right?
Once she actually became the public administrator, that would be the case. But while I was still, as you call it, a lame duck, I was still coming after them, sir.
Okay, so your thought is murder was the only way.
There might have been other ways, but it was again, if they didn't do it, they sure had a windfall for it that they didn't expect.
So how did Compass break into your home to plant this evidence?
Like I said before, I don't know how it got in there, but I did not put it there, sir.
How did they plant the hat?
Again, I don't know how it got there, but I didn't put it there.
How did they plant the shoes?
I don't know how it got under the couch, but I did not put it there.
How did they get your DNA in there?
Again, I don't know when and where that DNA was allegedly obtained, so I couldn't say, sir.
How did they put the images in your phone?
Again, I don't know if that was in my phone or on a corrupt image or what have you. Again, you cannot say when or where any of this occurred, really.
And again, when they executed this warrant, the police, they did that also in the presence of your wife, correct?
Not exactly, sir, if I may. So
the answer to my question is no?
Not all of them did.
Okay.
And so...
No question pending. I appreciate it. You'll have a chance on redirect.
Okay.
Scribble that down with your crayon.
So, let's start focusing on May of 2012, or May of 2022. Sorry about that. Fair to say that the dynamics in the office aren't great at that point.
That's correct, sir.
Rita and the old guard are unhappy with you and the new guard. Would that be correct?
Yeah, sure.
And the members of the new guard included you, Roberta, and Nicole. Would that be accurate?
That was just some of us.
Okay. There were a couple others?
I believe there were actually 10 folks, and after Janie retired, it was just 4 old guards, as has been stated. So 6 of us who are, and that didn't include me either. So I guess it'd be 7 of us versus the 4 people who had gotten there before I did.
Okay. So you agreed to do a sit-down interview on May 11th of 2022 with Jeff Garriman, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did you agree to do this interview?
Because I wanted to dispel the notion that, there was any concern.
You were being accused of a series of things, including creating emotional stress on your employees, correct?
Right.
Bullying?
Right.
And engaging in an appropriate relationship, correct?
Right.
Okay. When you sat down to do this interview, did you want to get the truth out?
To a certain extent, yes, but when it came to the office issues, yes, sir.
Okay. When you sat down, when you spoke with him, were you truthful in your interview?
Not entirely, no.
Okay. What were you untruthful about?
About the extent of the relationship with me and Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay. What was different? What did you say versus the truth?
I said that, she and I had no affair, but, regrettably, we did have...
mumble that word.
And when I say regrettably, I think we both regret the mistake, but we had a romantic affair with each other.
Okay, so you did lie to him, correct, on that topic?
I didn't think that was the public's business.
That's not my question. My question is...
I did lie regarding that particular issue, yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me, at the moment you sat down for that interview, you were in the throngs of a re-election campaign, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would agree with me that the public administration job was something very important to you.
I mean, sure. Yes. Obviously, again, it was important at the time. Yes.
I mean, well, listen, you told us a little bit about your story. I mean, right? I mean, you put yourself through law school. You opened up a law firm. You were elected to this job. You were proud of the work you were doing at the PA's office, correct?
It absolutely was.
Okay, and you wanted to remain in that job, correct?
I certainly did.
Okay. And you would agree with me that if you had been entirely truthful, that may not have helped your election prospects. Would that be correct?
That was certainly not the sole motivation for lying.
And I understand that, but that is a factor, correct?
I don't know. Again, I don't know that I necessarily consider that to be the primary factor, or honestly consider it to be a factor at all. My main concern was having any embarrassment or any, for both of our families, that kind of thing.
And listen, that's totally fair, right? You're concerned about your family, maybe you're concerned about Roberta's family. Understood. And that for you is the main reason why you're not being truthful about that.
Right.
Okay. So, you sit down. Did you feel after speaking with him that you thought Gehrman would give you a fair shake?
I did. I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I walked outside with him. I told him more about a lot of the issues that had occurred at the office before I got there, and about the way that, the strange things that had happened. I won't get into it, but yes, I thought by the time we were done that, that he understood what was really going on at the office.
Okay, and when he, sorry, excuse me 1 second. When that was published, you were very upset, correct?
Yeah, I was shocked at what ended up coming out versus what we had discussed. Yes, sir.
Were you devastated?
I don't know if I'm not sure, that I ever, consider myself devastated on anything. I was certainly upset. I was, hurt for, that this came out, but that was that day. That was that day.
Sure. And on that day, and let's just be clear, because not only does it potentially jeopardize your work, but it jeopardizes potentially the family stability. Fair?
In a sense, yes. My wife did forgive me, but it certainly it wasn't good optically for obviously my children and have them teased by other kids or what have you. So from that respect, it was a little hard on them.
And here's the thing, he didn't have to write it the way he did, but he chose to do so, correct?
Certainly, yes.
And you talked to him about how upset you were when you saw, I'm assuming, an advanced copy of it, or at least before.
I believe it was actually after it was released. I think people have been misstating the date of the article, because I think my text was after. I don't know if it got republished and the date changed or what have you.
Yeah, so, and like if we publish 353A, we can see here, the date on this is May 16th, correct? Okay. But you agree sometimes what happens is like the RJ will throw up an article online at night, and so maybe it's the night before, and then maybe in a publication it's for the next day. Something along those lines. Okay.
Georgia, thank you.
Because your text messages with Mr. Gehrman reacting to this actually happened on the 15th, isn't that right?
Right, sir.
Okay.
Right.
So I want to talk about that if we could.
He's got a bit of lint on his shoulder. I want to brush it off.
Now on direct, you said it was a bummer, right? Or was that the election loss? I can't remember. I don't. Which was the bummer?
I think and maybe I can't remember what was a bummer per se. The articles certainly were not. I wasn't happy about them. Yeah.
Well, let's turn to this message. It's on page 4, and you state, "I don't know what to say. I told you about how much this has all impacted me. You heard from employees who are being harassed by these people. Provided you proof." I'm assuming that's proof, correct? It says prove, it's a typo.
It might have auto-corrected, and yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Provided you proof that I was doing my best to actually smooth things over after I had to make hard decisions. Still, you wrote an article that makes me sound like I'm the guilty one. That was not fair or balanced, correct?
Yes, sir, I wrote that.
You were very, very upset when you wrote that.
Yeah, and I guess it says I'm very distraught right now. Clearly there are typos in my message.
And you held him responsible because he was the one who chose to write the words, correct?
Again, at the time, I was upset.
So the answer to my question is yes. You held Mr. Gehrman responsible because he chose to write this article in this particular way.
If I had to hold anyone responsible in any sense, I guess the context that you're saying, I mean, certainly not enough to murder him.
That wasn't my question.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to get a sense of what the wordplay is here.
Well, it's not wordplay. You held him responsible. He chose to write it that particular way, right?
On that day, I felt that, again, he would totally misconstrue things, so I was upset with him, and I told him I was upset with him.
Okay, so that's how you were feeling on May 15th, correct? And you even say, I've done so much for that office. I told you I've been followed and that I caught Rita following me. You decided to take it on her word that she wasn't, however clearly she was. It seems to me you valued sensationalism or the value of a potential takedown than actually telling the truth. Thank you for helping him drop more pressure on my life.
Yeah, and I think that was a typo with the him. It was probably a them instead.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you described this probably as a hit piece. Would that be correct?
Honestly, yes.
A character assassination, correct?
Yes.
And he's the one who chose it to write it that way, correct?
Correct.
And then what happens is about 9 days go by, and he reaches out to you again, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the primary election was held on June 14th, correct?
I don't recall, but you're probably right.
Okay. So we have one article that gets into not just the inner workings of the office, but it's hitting you on personal stuff. And now he's reaching out to try to do another article, right?
Right, sir.
Fair to say, you've got to be upset.
I don't know if at this point I was still upset. I couldn't remember. I know that I had to, at a certain point, start to try to, basically combat this with my own narrative to try to, again, win the race.
Right. You're so concerned about Jeff Gehrman's articles that you start literally creating websites to try to fight against it, correct?
I wanted the truth to come out, yeah.
Right. That's how significant the article was to you.
In the sense that I wanted to win the race and I needed to dispel what was in the articles, yes, sir.
You must have felt that this guy is just personally out to get you at this point.
Not personally out to get me. I thought he was a friend of John Cahill's. Okay. Later I found out that Alicia Goodwin's father was a friend of his.
That must have been infuriating.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, like I said, by the time, about a month later, I think you see my tweets. I'm more just trying to
we'll talk about different things over time that we see from you. But moving on, you end up providing a written statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
I imagine you're hopeful that you're going to get more of a balanced article from him, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, you're just hoping he'll just publish something, correct?
I'm just hoping that it won't be too bad because I had already figured by this point it's like, well, you know what, he's going to do what he's going to do.
But it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Again, that's...
It's the same stuff, right? He's trashing you, correct?
But there's a certain point which you kind of get desensitized to things.
Sure.
Right? So by the time the fourth article came out, I was like, oh, whatever. Right? I will say that when it comes...
Oh, objection. He's answering the question.
I know, but sir, the witness is non-responsive to the question.
He's answering the question that's posed, and it's a complex question.
I'm asking him to ask the question again.
Okay. You're upset because he's trashing you, correct?
Yeah, I couldn't say at that time that I was still upset or just trying to fight to win the race.
Okay. This was not helping your election, was it?
No, that it certainly wasn't.
So then we have, let's do this, let me back out.
And
hold on a second. I'd like to now turn to some items that pop up in your phone kind of around this time. So there is this image from May 20th. I'm going to publish that.
How to push
this was found in your
results
phone,
down.
correct?
Yes, it was, sir.
You're not denying that this was something actually in your phone?
No, and I can tell you why I did.
I'm not asking you that question, but the title of this is How to Push Down Negative Search Results. Correct?
Hang on, let him take some notes so we can talk about this later.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have these kind of inflammatory tweets that you're tracking where they're talking about you, correct?
I was not tracking these. These were given to me by Roberta Lee Kennett.
Okay, so people are sending them to you, right?
Yes.
And then you have this message here to Mr. Kinsley. And just to be clear, that is a message that is being kind of issued out on the 15th, which would have been like that day that article came out, right? Is that correct? Because you had said, because the article was dated, the original one's dated 5/16, and we had that conversation about it released earlier, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's look and see what you say here. Isn't it true you tell Mr. Kingsley, I'm working to bring the full truth to light? I guess I want to focus on, you're kind of maintaining the same posture that you had with Gehrman, right? About these things, some things are true. None of this stuff is true, correct?
Well, and again, like I said, I'll point out that I did lie in this message because I did not want to publicly embarrass my family further.
Right. And to be fair, it's understandable, but so this is something that the potential impact on your family is so significant, you're even telling people in this context like it's not true because that's an important thing to protect. Fair?
I don't think that my wife would have left me, but certainly I didn't want them to have to go through any embarrassment or any pain.
Sure. And I want to focus down here at the very bottom, because I know you said, I was kind of over it and things like that. Isn't it true you state here you have no idea how hard it's been? You say that, correct?
That was that same day, and that was referring to the troubles that I had with the ladies in the office, that no matter what I was doing to try to actually make peace with them, giving them raises, whatever things that
just gave them raises to make peace.
I had to be a cheerleader for the other employees while trying to minimize the damage they were doing.
Okay. You say I'm truly devastated, correct?
And that was again on the same day that I texted Mr. Gehrman.
So the answer is yes.
Yep. And
he gave the ladies at the office raises.
Isn't it true you also try to reach out to county officials to see if there's anything that they can do to help rein in Rita Reed's behavior?
That I don't recall. I mean, if you got something to show that, as long as,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So.
I did talk to HR about how to best handle disciplinary issues and got their advice. And did things appropriately.
Okay.
If that's what you're referring to.
I'm just asking. And so now that brings us to the primary, which is June 14th of 2022. You would agree with me, when that day began, you were hopeful that you were going to win, correct?
You're always hopeful when you're running for an election.
You had gone out, you had canvassed neighborhoods, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were expressing to your friends and family that, yeah, I think we're going to pull this out, correct?
Obviously, you always want to have an optimistic face, no matter what, but I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to win or not.
Okay. But ultimately, you lose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you don't place second. You end up placing third. Is that right?
Right. All three of us were pretty tight, though, but yes.
Right. And I'm going to approach with what's been marked as State's Proposed 377. Does that appear to be kind of the accurate outcome of the election?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a fair and accurate depiction of those results?
I think so. Like I said, it was pretty close.
At this time, we're asking State permission to admit State's 377. Sure. Sorry about that.
I think this really goes against his personality, where he has to look at himself in last place.
Publishing 377.
Look at him squirm.
So, when we look at this, you don't lose by much, do you?
No.
Wow, percentage between each one.
A little more than 2,000 votes, correct?
Right.
Jeff Garriman didn't write any articles about Carolyn Escobar in a negative fashion, did he?
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, leading up to his election, he didn't do that, correct?
Correct.
He didn't do that about Rita?
No.
Fair to say, in your opinion, if Jeff Garriman hadn't written these articles, you probably end up winning that primary?
Probably yes.
There's your motive.
It had to be crushing, correct?
No, it was disappointing, but again, I knew that my chances were 50-50, so I was prepared for a loss, and I think my conciliation post on Facebook was pretty clear that, hey, you know what, we tried really hard, we gave it our go, but I'm going to go serve families as a probate attorney again. I'm ready to go back to work, and and I got a lot of support when I made that post.
Okay. But everything that you work for is gone because of a couple of articles that say things that you don't think are really true, correct? Especially about the work stuff, right?
It wasn't the articles per se. It was obviously Rita and Alicia,
who got Jeff Garriman into the fold to publicly tear you down.
They did, yes.
And he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
So now I want to focus on just 2 days later. 2 days later. Oh, can we cue over? Sorry. 2 days later, Jeff Garriman writes to you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you are kind of right on teetering on the verge of conceding, correct?
I think it took a long time for the count to occur. It was almost a week. So we were, again, this was a while back. So if I remember correctly, we were still waiting for the final outcome, and yeah. So this was.
So you're down as of May 16th. You're losing in the race, correct?
It was kind of similar to what you saw on that report in the sense that things kept going up and down, but it was some. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere in those 1,000, 2,000 between the three of us. But Rita would go up, then Caroline would go up, and so it was more of a tug of war between them. And that was pretty much in third place at all times.
So it's very close, right?
It was really close.
You don't know how this at this point, as of June 16th, you still don't officially know how this one's going to shake out, correct?
Based on the fact that I never came out of third place during the whole thing, I was pretty sure that it was done.
Okay, but nevertheless, Jeff Garriman comes calling again, correct?
Mm-hmm. And it's about that truth website that I created.
Right, and you just say it's fine at this point. They won. Do what you like. Fair to say you felt resigned at this point.
Yeah, like just you know what? What's it going to do at this point? Whatever, you know.
Well, he wrote another one, correct?
That is, yes.
Fair to say you weren't happy with that coverage. It wasn't positive, was it?
Again, I don't remember if I cared or not. And I know I started to poke fun at him on Twitter, but you know, it came to a point where it was just me trying to
just a couple little jabs on Twitter,
see if I couldn't get him to put more light on my website.
Okay, and so then on June 18th, he publishes this article number 3, correct?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes.
And then just 6 days later, on June 22nd, he publishes a 4th article about you officially losing, but pointing out that you remain combative, correct?
Yeah, which again was inaccurate, but sure, yes.
Okay, so again, it's inaccurate reporting about you, the 4th one.
Right. Like I said, by this point, I was just having fun with it.
Well, let's be, Mr. Tellis, you didn't like Jeff Garriman by this point, did you?
I mean, sure. I did not like him.
You hated him, isn't that correct?
I don't know if hate, I mean, there might have been various points throughout that where I might have felt like that, but I don't know that he was not a central figure in my life. I'll put it that way.
He is the figure that ends up causing you to leave your job as public administrator for Clark County, correct?
Again, I don't blame him per se. I blame Rita and I blame Alicia.
Sir, you just told this jury that if those articles weren't written, hold on, I'm not finished. You just told this jury, like 5 minutes ago, that if Mr. Garriman hadn't written these 4 articles, you believe you would have won the race.
Yeah, but again, if Rita and Alicia hadn't gone to Alicia's dad to ask for this favor, those articles wouldn't have happened.
So the answer to my question is yes.
Who I would hold most responsible is not Mr. Garriman.
Sir, that's not my question.
Okay.
My question is, you believe if Mr. Garriman had not written these 4 articles, you would have won the race, correct?
I do believe that, yes.
You hated him by this point in time, isn't that right?
I could not say whether I hated him by this point in time, and if how long I might have hated him, if,
Roberta said you hated him.
Roberta is entitled to her own opinion. I don't know that I ever said I hated him.
Okay. So, now we're in July. Fair to say working in that office had to have been hard in July.
So after the election loss, I ended up, so I guess just back up a little bit. When Mike Murphy came into the office, it was not a directive from Clark County. It was a request. Jeff Wells said, hey, you've got this situation. I think, maybe if we bring in Mr. Murphy, he could help you kind of be an independent, arbiter of sorts. And he said that, you don't have to say yes. This is not, we have no right to force this on you. It's entirely up to you. And I said, you know what, sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. So brought him in, but then again, that got misconstrued, it is what it is at this point. But so once I lost the election, he and Rita had taken over the duties primarily, and I did most of my work from home, coming in a couple of days a week, just to do things here and there.
Okay, so to go back to my question, was July hard? Yes or no?
I guess my answer would be not as. I didn't have to deal with the first, the day-to-day frustrations I used to deal with when I was in the office 50 hours a week.
So you came in less, correct?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Rita assumed more of a responsibility.
Right, sir.
Even though you were still the acting, duly elected public administrator.
Right. We decided, just
Okay. I'm going to publish Exhibit 340. We could cue over to the Elmo.
Wow.
On June 13th, I mean, I don't know if you are aware of this back in the day, but an email is sent out. I'm sorry? July. Sorry about that. July 13th of 2022, Jeff Garriman is making a public records request, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, in July, you have already lost your race, correct?
Right.
So the election isn't at stake. Is that correct?
Right. Correct.
You will be gone in a matter of 6 months, right?
Right.
And now, Jeff Garriman is asking for all emails between Public Administrator Robert Tellis and Estate Quarter Roberta Lee Kennett from January 1st to the date that this is fulfilled, correct?
Right.
He also wanted all of your communications, including messages between you and Roberta, correct?
Right.
He wanted you to provide, wanted the county to provide all text messages between you and Roberta, correct?
Right.
From your personal cell phones, correct?
Yes, he did, but he was not allowed to have them. But yes.
Sure. Understood. But I mean, that's how far this is going. And additionally, and I didn't read that in the middle, it included a request for Microsoft Teams messages as well. Isn't that right?
Right.
Okay. Now, sir, you are familiar with the county's policy. Well, let's do it this way. You testified to this jury that, before the records request went out for the Teams messages, you had reviewed them and you didn't have any issues with them, correct?
And I'd love to elaborate on that if I could.
I need you to focus on my question. Yes or no?
I had an opportunity to. Yes, I did have an opportunity to review them before.
Judge, it's a two-way street on this one.
Okay, if you can answer the question, yes or no.
I haven't finished the question yet.
Oh,
Then I can ask Mr. Hamner if he wants you to answer the question.
I need you to listen. I need to finish the question.
Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Well, yes or no. You testified on direct examination that you reviewed Teams messages and you did not have an issue with them, correct?
The production that I understood was going to be sent to Mr. Garriman, yes.
Right. And just to be clear, you were familiar with the county's policy about what gets produced in a public records request, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so, isn't it true that under this county policy, personal messages would not be produced under a public records request?
That is correct.
Okay. So any personal communications between you and her wouldn't go out to Mr. Garriman, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And that is why, and so you're like, I don't have any issue with that other stuff going out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But let's be clear about something. The election's over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Garriman...
Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And Jeff Garriman seems to still be digging about you and Roberta, isn't that right?
Yes, but there's nothing to dig, provided obviously that if he was going to receive what I saw, then there was nothing for him to dig.
I mean, you would agree, reporters typically don't ask for records requests unless they're planning on doing a story, correct?
Sometimes I think they're just fishing to see if there is a story.
And according to this records request, he's fishing about one thing. It's you and Roberta, right?
Right.
Okay. Which you told us back in May when you sat down with your interview with Jeff Garriman, the number one priority was to, protect your family and not really dig into that, correct? Or at least disclose that, correct?
I'm sorry.
You told us when you met with Garriman on May 11th, you had said, I was truthful about some things, but I wasn't truthful about everything. The one thing I didn't want to talk about was the indiscretions. And you said that the reason for that was I was really concerned about my family, correct? Right. Okay. The election's over. You're on your way out, and now this guy is wanting to ask more questions about you and Roberta, right?
Yeah.
It's not about you and Rita, right?
There's a... I know that there was a later request for those other emails that got appended to this, but I don't know if you remember that with Mike Murphy and Rita.
Just in this specific request, he's not asking for communications between you and Rita, right?
Correct.
He's not asking for communications between you and Alicia, right?
Correct.
It's just about you and Roberta.
Right.
He's not leaving it alone, is he?
I think he's still fishing.
That had to have been frustrating. Mr. Tellis?
No, it was not, because I knew he wasn't going to have anything based on what I reviewed from the production.
Okay. So it's your testimony that the possibility of a fifth article didn't concern you at all when the potential source of the request is just about your communications between you and Roberta. You're telling us that's not a concern at this point in time.
Again, so I can explain to you how things...
Yes or no? Is it a concern or is it not?
Not at the time that I reviewed those documents, no.
Okay. So, now, let's now jump forward to August 8th of 2022. On that day, Dan Coolin emails you and starts to tell you about the production request, that it's going to start to happen, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's on August 8th, right?
Yes, sir.
We'll do this quickly here. August 8th. 4 days later, in your phone, the Google Maps and bronze circles start popping up, correct?
No, sir.
Read this out to me. What does that say?
That says August 12th, 2022.
Great. Publishing 364. This is the street surveillance. Please read out to me what the date is on that.
August 15th, 2022.
Okay. You would agree that August 12th is just 4 days after August 8th, correct?
I would.
You would agree with me that August 15th is just 7 days after August 8th, correct?
I would.
And if we go back to the overhead, 354. I want you to read the date on entry number 1 on that.
The modified date?
Yeah.
8/23.
Okay.
2022.
I wish I could do the math on that one. I feel like that's like about 2 weeks after August 8th, correct?
Somewhere around there.
So like 2 weeks and a day.
We also heard from Nicole Lofton, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nicole Lofton was employee of the public administrator's office, correct?
Yes, sir.
A member, as you describe it, of the New Guard, correct? She was on Team Tellis, fair?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. You had text messages between you and Nicole Lofton through the course of your time as a public administrator, correct?
If you've got them, then sure. I don't recall.
Okay. Well, I'm going to approach for a second. So I'm going to show opposing counsel what's been marked as Exhibit 376. It's just an excerpt of some things, but take a look.
And these are just excerpts, they're not the entire.
It's not the full thing. There's a lot of messages there. I just wanted to kind of narrow down. I'm going to approach in a minute, but I need to get an understanding. By August, beginning of August 8th, by August 8th, how are you feeling about Jeff Gehrman's next upcoming article?
I don't recall.
Okay. Are you concerned at all?
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, let me show you what's been marked as Exhibit 376, proposed Exhibit 376. Why don't you just take a minute and flip through those and let me know if you recognize essentially what you're looking at there.
Love that attorney's watch. Just like pops. What have we here? He pronounced it Tellis. So he likes to pronounce it. consternation on his face.
Okay.
Think. You have to answer to these in just a minute.
We're getting close to it.
Give that timeline.
We're going to take a break.
Would be a good time for a break as well.
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, at this time, we're going to take a break during this recess. You're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do any
Set
research,
right back
consult
down.
dictionaries, internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you, and we'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you.
Judge says 15 minutes. She means somewhere between 15 minutes and 45 minutes. I will tell you, this is crazy. Well, looks good. Looks good. You look good as well. Thank you. It's my family. I have. Thank you. You also look good, although that's what you're wearing this morning. I have an announcement to make. Over the last 20 months of court watching, some of the most incredible, intriguing trials that this country has to offer, we have never once reached the level of perfection which we have seen in the cross-examination of Robert Tellis by Mr. Hamner here today. And as such, I think the only thing to do is just retire the channel in glory. It's only downhill from here. How in the world could we go on to any other trial and say, I can't wait to watch this, when really all we should be doing is watching this cross-examination day in and day out from now going forward. So I'm not sure if we should make a vote or something. This has been incredible. This has been amazing. Mr. Tellis is, I would say, I'm not going to diagnose him here, but my personal opinion, he's a narcissist in every way. He cannot admit. I believe narcissists are not able to view people in such a way that they can have hatred for them. They can despise them, but they don't view people in the same way that they could hate them. So I believe he's telling the truth there. But this is nuts. This is nuts. He honestly will continue lying as he serves out the last day of his sentence in prison. I think he will stand by what he is saying today. There will be no recanting at any point. There will be no taking it back. That it will always be him against the conspiracy. And anyone who disagrees with him is clearly part of the conspiracy. This is just. I think this video, this cross-examination should be taught in both law school and in psych school, as because it's so useful to both for what we're witnessing here play out in front of us. Got to give it to Mr. Hamner. The only way you can win an argument with a narcissist is in a court setting like this, where you play by the rules and they don't. And that's what he's doing. He's forcing him to answer a question. And it grates against everything in Mr. Tellis' personality to answer the question directly. He wants to spin it. He wants to say something else. And he's pinning him down as close as he can. And even then, even when the judge gives him direct instructions saying, you have to answer yes or no if you can, he still adds a modifier. He still will not give him the satisfaction of a yes or no that way. This has been absolutely amazing. A couple comments. First of all, I love when these pop up, saying hi to everyone and giving thanks to the mods, chat, and RA. This is a wild ride of a trial. It absolutely is. We're close. I would say at this point where we are in the day, there's no chance we have closing arguments today. That's not going to happen. But it's definitely a possibility for tomorrow, depending on how long this cross-examination goes. And we think because the redirect is in narrative form, remember this, the prosecution will not be asking him any questions. He'll just be talking about the 4 issues, and he'll probably try to go over things, and we might see some objections as far as basically it's like an asked and answered objection. I don't know how else you do that in a narrative form, though. We might see objections if he just tries to just rehash everything. I don't think it's going to be another 4 hours on the stand, though. Might be the shortest deliberation of any trial we've ever seen. He really thought he did something with those I don't recalls. Yeah, this is going to be a gotcha. What we have coming up right here, this is a gotcha moment because he's pinned himself into a reasoning that he did not hate. He didn't have any hard feelings against against Jeff for the story, even though he lost his job because of it. Even though it was all these people in the office, and Jeff did what he told them instead of making a fair and balanced report. No hard feelings. But now we've got documents that he's had to say I don't recall on, because he doesn't remember what was in them. And they're going to be opposite what he says. That's where we're going. You can smell this trap from a mile away. The defense lawyer was probably a tactical move to ask for the break right now so they could at least get ahead of this a little bit and let him know what's coming up. I don't know if that's allowed in Nevada. In every other court that I've been in, when a witness is on the stand, you don't get to talk to your attorneys during the breaks, but it looks like he's allowed to. Not sure why that is. Or maybe they can talk to their own attorneys. I don't know. Somebody help me with that part. I'm not sure about the legal ramifications of talking to an attorney while you're under oath on the stand. Nancy D says, this lawyer's the same one that did the Tommy case. Yes. And I told you, he has the capacity to be fire, to bring the passion, the heat. And he has. And he's done it very well. The only thing that he's getting caught up on is interrupting the response from the defendant. That's it. If he could keep that under control, he's got this made. Wayne Hetchel says, imagine a prison Hunger Games, Sarah Boone stuff, Tella, I can't even say his name, Robert Taya, into a suitcase. Taya stabs Daryl Brooks multiple times. Daryl Brooks runs both of them over. Anybody in the yard with an SUV? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is hilarious. 3 peas in a pod is what you're trying to say there. Lizzie Dog with a massive super chat says, don't shut down the channel. Yes, this is crazy, and I'm here for it. I was just kidding about shutting down the channel. But honestly, looking back over the last, say, 20 months of court, can you remember a more, an exhibit that was more perfect than this cross-examination? This is, Greener says, retirement fund. That's what it's for. Thank you. Generous super chat. I really do appreciate your support. It makes all this possible, and I thank you for it. I love what I do, but the bills still have to get paid, and you guys make that possible. I can't thank you enough. Thank you. This is the best cross I've seen, says Pretty Eyes T. Let's see. The Jen McCabe cross. That's right up there. That is right up there. We've seen 2 almost back to back. Witnesses aren't allowed to stand up and argue either bit for some reason he can. Debbie, yes, he has representation. The lawyer is supposed to make all arguments with the judge, unless there's like a colloquy where the judge has to directly talk to the defendant. There should be nothing, right there. And he stood up. He's like, Your Honor, if I may, and he made an argument. I'm like, what am I watching? Crazy. Verdict will be shortest ever, 5 minutes, says Images by Vaughn. I still say the jury reaches the verdict as they walk to the jury room. It's like, hey, hold the door. We're not going to be here long. Camille's cross with Amber was awesome. Going back to the Johnny Depp trial. The dog stepped on a bee. I work for a credit card company. A chick called in, and her name was Sarah Boone. Not the same one, but my heart dropped. Can't wait till he stands up and yells, okay, I did it. Rick, this is funny. Were he not a true narcissist, I think anyone else would have broken at this point and would have caved. We could have had a witness stand confession. But the narcissism in him, I think, is preventing him. He will not give an inch. Even when confronted with hard evidence, he will literally just hold on to his truth and say, well, I believe it was planted. I believe it was fake. It was a conspiracy. I don't believe it was on my phone. I don't think that is my DNA. Just things that we as court watchers and the court and the law view as established fact. having the foundation laid, the chain of custody has been testified to, and the evidence has been presented. We accept that as fact, and he says no. He's working with realities that are not real. Like his world of reality is a misconception in a big way. As long as he says that it's not so, it isn't to him. And it must be incredibly frustrating for Mr. Hamner, but he's doing a masterful job. I think he'll go to jury tomorrow. Very likely, Kim. We might have a Friday verdict. When he says the killer, he's just talking in third person, says Ashley. I wish that Mr. Hamner had kept up the whole assassin bit. Because, oh my goodness, this amateur assassin, as he points out all the flaws, and he points out, because narcissists don't like to be told that they're doing poorly at anything. And as he's pointing out the amateurness and the mistakes of this assassin, how amateur the move was, oh my goodness, Mr. Tellis can't do anything about it, because then it would be admitting that it was him. All right, let's see. We have a few minutes of a break here. The judge says 15 minutes, but I think it will be longer. We are on a break. This is our last break before the last segment of the day. The next time we break, it will be done for the day. I think we'll either be done break right at the time of cross and have more of Mr. Tellis tomorrow morning on the redirect, and then some recross possibly. But I mean, look at the time. It's almost 4:30 Eastern. It's 3:30. I think they stop at about 4:30 their time. So we have about an hour more of this, and I think it will take about that long. If it does wrap up quickly, which would be great, I think even then they're going to call it for a day. There's just not enough time left in the day to do either jury instructions, closing arguments. They want more time to prepare for those anyway. It's just going to... Yeah, we can't have a conflict with the podcast. That's for sure. Podcast starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Crap. It's going to be close, Weather Watch. It's going to be really close. Boss, it's 6:30 Eastern. We have an hour and a half before the podcast. All right. Well, I'll make a thumbnail for the podcast real quick. It's 4:30 Mountain Time. Did I say Eastern Time? 4:30 Mountain. What do we talk about on the podcast? We call the podcast the Not Relevant Podcast, which we actually have a soundbite for from Judge Manning that sounds... Got a call coming in. Hang on one second. See if I can connect the call.
Call from
Master Eden.
I heard Master Eden in the shadows there. Hard to hear you. Are you there?
Yes. Is this too loud in my background? I'm in the van right now.
It's hard to hear you.
Okay, I'll wait till I get home. I'll go back.
All right. We'll see you, Master Eden. See you. Master Eden's always got some good comments. What do we talk about on the podcast? We talk about things that are not relevant. Basically, there's almost nothing that's off limits on the podcast.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
There's Judge Manning for you. So we generally talk a little bit about courts, a little bit about our lives, a little bit about funny news stories that have come up. We almost always veer back to food for some reason, because I guess we all eat. Lottery comes up quite a few times, but we're going to be talking about Weather Watch's experience with the police academy, with week 1, just in the books. Lots of fun stuff, but that's in an hour and a half. Aaron Blackman says, maybe a bit premature, but I believe the judge in the Richens trial may end up being my favorite. Side note, just got my degree in forensic psych back in May. This is true definition of a narcissist. Aaron, we're seeing it play out. I don't think we've had a better example of this. Just that the ability of a narcissist to look at a situation and deny truth straight to your face and expect you to believe it is crazy, absolutely crazy. And I think that goes a lot to his ability to lie, and lie in a manner that appears convincing to the rest of us, where those of us with a conscience and a soul might have a difficulty doing that. But I don't think he does. I don't think he has any problem whatsoever in lying. I'm sure it's been discussed several times already, but is your screen name related to substance abuse? T. Ryan, excuse me. Hang on just one second. yes and no. Yes to addiction, no to substance abuse. My story of addiction was a little bit different because I was addicted to computer gaming. Nearly lost my family, my job, everything that is important to me as a result of that. So I chose the name because it has a double meaning. It means that, as well as I was addicted to recovering artifacts from the ground as a metal detectorist. That's when I built the channel. And I chose it sort of tongue-in-cheek that way, but have just the utmost respect and support for anyone who is, on the path to sobriety, whatever the addiction is. And so we support and cheer those people on as we all, deal with our own, in my case, my own addiction. So thank you very much. But not substance abuse particularly for me, but a different type of addiction. Claire says, I'm in the UK and I've got work in the morning, but I can't stop watching this. Do you think he might try to get a plea deal now? There is no way. There is no way the prosecutors will even allow that. It's too late. That bridge has been burned. Yo mama, can't wait for Dr. G to give his opinions. I think what we're going to see is Dr. G looking at this and seeing, aside from the fist on the face, which might be very telling, seeing that this is a very convincing liar. I think that's what he's going to say. This is somebody who is very good at lying and very comfortable, inside themselves, with lying to you and expecting you to believe it, where there's not the level of self-conscious or self-awareness when lying about things. I think it's going to be remarkable to hear what he has to say. I also want to hear the Mr. Hamner go down the list of all the people who are in the conspiracy now, because just about everybody's on the list now. Andrew Lee, thank you very much. This is an amazing group. Total lack of empathy. I don't think he can feel empathy. I believe that his narcissism prevents him from feeling empathy. Is recovery addict addiction a thing? It might be. It might be. Let's see. T. Ryan, I've had some practice sharing that, but thank you for the question. I always appreciate that. Let's see. He's like, I'm a politician. Narcissists and politicians can often go hand in hand. It's almost like a job requirement in some situations. Pickles, not politics, though. We won't go there. It isn't lying if you believe it. Who's Dr. G? Yes, if you think of behavior panel, very similar. Dr. G is also does similar work. His YouTube channel is Dr. G Explains. He's a much bigger channel than my own. He's been on here a couple times as a guest. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, just a great person, and I think you'll like his work. Gene Daughtry says, you're number one OG lurker. I love my family. Gene, thank you. 18 months of lurking. You're doing a great job at it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations as well. Audrey Henry says, you are family. We won't leave you. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat, Audrey. Narcissistic sociopath. That's what we have here. Thank you for the link here. If our mods put this in chat, the !DR, then the response will give you the link to Dr. G. I do recommend giving him a follow and maybe reaching out to him on one of his comments and saying, please, can you do a quick video on Robert Tellis, on his testimony on the stand? I think he'd be happy to do that. I like Behavior Panel 2. That's a good one. Narcissism is a prerequisite for life in politics. Okay, so great question. Kathy, so what if it's true? Lots of money at stake.
You can bring he can take the stand and we can bring the panel in, right?
Yeah, I was trying to get it.
If it's true, it blows up the reasonableness scale. It's just off the charts. I don't think it's reasonable for it to be true in any way. I mean, killing the person who helped you, it doesn't stand to reason at all. If they're willing to commit murder, why wouldn't they have killed him? Thinks he would have died a martyr and somebody would have continued his cause? Well, he got voted out and they didn't continue. Barbara, I'm right now at an Airbnb in Layton, Utah. I'll be staying here for the rest of the month. We'll be going to the Corey Richens trial in Park City. We'll be doing that. I'll be live up there recording that and bringing it to you as soon as it's done. My son gets married in Idaho next month, and after the wedding, we're going to go drive back across the country, and I'll be back in North Carolina mid-September. Long vacation for them, long workation for me. Look at the notes. Look how big the writing is. Oh my goodness, look at this.
They're already gone.
Address 10K. He has to write with that pencil. They will not give him a sharp object because of the self-harm situation that happened earlier. And so he has to write with this fat grease pencil, which is like a kindergartner's crayon. And he has to write big fonts so he can read it.
All right,
That was nearly, was that a 15-minute break? Or 20 minutes. That's close enough. I believe he's 5'4" or 5'5". He said he was 6'5", but I think he misspoke. As far as that's referred to as height.
Does the state stipulate to the presence? Mr. Drafter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, you had a chance to review those text messages?
Yes, sir.
That's a fair and accurate depiction of some of the text messages you had with Nicole.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
At this time, we'd ask that these be admitted. State's proposed 376.
No objection.
So again, just to set the stage, like how are you feeling in early August about Jeff Gehrman and his articles?
Like I said, I don't know that I thought any way about Jeff Gehrman in particular.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right. So,
Zachary, thank you very much. Generous gifter every single day.
That's just
Zachary.
the ones in green. That's you, correct?
Yes.
That's just the first page that goes back to August 17th of 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So this message is from June 15th. That's the day of the primary, or at least the day after the primary, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think you state, isn't it true, you state to her, good morning, full results aren't in yet. It's about a three-way tie with me, last by around 2,000 votes. The precincts I'm counting on aren't in yet. And Nicole says, praying, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, me too.
Yes.
Turning to what's marked as page 64, just on the actual pagination. We look at this bottom email at 6:15 at 12 o'clock p.m. She writes to you, folks are prancing around like you conceded. Did you? Do you remember her writing that to you?
Not until I see it now, but it's been a while.
Okay. And then your response is, isn't it true your response was, no, I'll check the website to see if a winner was declared. And she responds, okay, correct?
Yes.
I think you indicate that if I lost, I will protect you until you can get a new position. Is that
yes.
right? And she responds, I appreciate that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And isn't true then you say, I'm so sorry, Nicole, I tried so hard, I almost made a comeback, but it's done, correct?
Right.
And that's at 3:16 p.m. on the 15th, isn't that right?
Right.
And you say here, unfortunately, too many people bought the lies, isn't that right?
Right.
And when you're saying that, you're referring to the voters, correct?
Yeah.
And the lies were propagated by those articles, correct?
Yes.
That Mr. Gehrman wrote.
Right.
We look down here at the end, she says, I'm so sorry, will you work until the end of the year or resign? Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And she says, thank you for believing in me. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Fair to say she cared for you and how you treated her in the office, correct?
Right.
All right. And you told her, in fact, I very much believe in you. You have been my best employee. I'm so sorry that I couldn't pull it off. Isn't that correct?
Right.
And she lets you know that you fought hard. Isn't that right?
Right.
And we see here on 6/15, you even say to her, I'll stay on until the end of the year, although if they aren't messing with you, I don't know that I'll spend a ton of time in the office, correct?
Right.
Essentially ceding power to Rita Reed, correct?
Right.
And Rita Reed is friendly to Compass Realty, correct?
Right.
And so your intentions were to step away from that office or lower your profile even as early as June 15th of 2022.
Right.
So you would be less of a threat to Compass Realty even then, correct? Because you'd be stepping away and not spending a ton of time in the office.
No, sir. The evidence proves otherwise.
Okay.
Define evidence. Don't think it means what you think it
And
means.
then we look here at text on June 21st. Nicole says, now Alicia is in the other cubicle counting the files that were left in there. These people are so sick. They spend half the day trying to get you instead of working. The you she's referring to is yourself, correct?
I don't know if it was that or, generally saying you in that sense, because I don't have files in a cubicle.
Okay.
So it might have been, that perception that, I don't know how to explain that. I think you get it.
Contextually, she's talking about the old guard, correct?
She is talking about them, but as far as whether she's talking about herself or me, I don't know.
Understood. But she believes these people are sick. Is that right?
That's her opinion, and, they did some pretty tough stuff.
Well, and it appears you share that same opinion. You say yes, like they think it all still matters, correct?
Right, like they're still trying to sabotage me, but it's pointless at this point, right?
Well, you say it's pointless, but we'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
You then also say she's probably trying to get fodder to pass to the reporter, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the reporter is still on your mind, isn't that right?
Just from the standpoint that they're still trying to concoct things, and that's why I decided to stay away from the office so they couldn't concoct anything anymore.
Because the articles were damaging, correct?
They were damaging, yes.
Professionally and personally?
Primarily professionally, because obviously I had to figure out something else to do for work, which, again, I'm a lawyer, so I guess, hang my shingle if I can, do whatever I can.
And that's a really interesting point. On August 8th, we've seen how that's the day you get notified that Gehrman wants stuff between you and Rita, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I want to look at what's marked on the bottom is page 110. Mm-hmm. Isn't it true that you tell Nicole at 12:28, you're dealing with a lot, I'm sorry. For me, this may have a long-term impact. I have people that no longer talk to me. Also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
Yes.
And it just so happens that you were then informed that Gehrman is snooping around looking to potentially do another article, correct?
Yeah.
And you're telling Nicole in confidence that you believe your future employment is jeopardized because of the articles, right?
Yes, but the damage was already done. So it's not, whether he wrote another article, he wrote 10 more articles, it was irrelevant at this point.
Well, apparently you don't say that, though, in your email. You don't say in that text message. You don't say, but the damage is already done, do you? You don't say that in that message, correct?
Well, it says that the articles are going to have an impact, and you would think that would refer to previously published articles, so I think that it's assumed that, it's done is done. So sir, if he goes on and does 10 more articles, same net effect, really.
Right. Sir, to go back to my question, isn't it true you never use the words, the damage is already done, correct?
Not in this particular message, no.
Right. And you state, also, I'm worried in this digital age that the articles could potentially follow me around for years to come. I'm actually worried I might not have any good employment prospects after this, correct?
I'd say it'd be better than if I had actually murdered Mr. Gehrman.
So, sir, we're going to go back to my question. Isn't that what you wrote in the text message?
Yes.
Wow.
And 4 days later, Google Maps images start popping up in your phone, correct?
No.
7 days later, on the 15th, surveillance is being conducted on a street, correct?
Not by me.
And on the 23rd, multiple images of Gehrman's information about what car he drives and where he lives is literally being screenshotted of your desktop computer, correct?
Not by me.
Because if it was you, that would be a big problem, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Conclusion, it's argumentative.
It is argumentative. If
We'll
you
move on.
rephrase it.
No, we can move on.
Uh-oh.
Publishing 342. Then you receive this email on 9/1, correct?
Yes, sir.
You receive it at 5:45 p.m.,
Yes,
correct?
sir. Mm-hmm.
And we heard from Roberta, who talked about this, right?
Right.
And she had indicated that the release of the information to Gehrman was just around the corner, correct?
Right.
Let me find this.
And I knew in advance that it'd be only...
Sir, there's no question pending.
Right. Get out your grease pencil.
5:45 on September 1st, you get the information. You get notified that Jeff Gehrman is soon to receive personal records requests related to messaging and communications between you and Roberta, correct?
No. It was not personal.
Okay, I didn't mean that. I meant, I apologize for my misstatement. Communications between you and Roberta, correct?
Business related, yes.
Right. And then at 11:20 in the morning, just a few hours later, Gehrman's dead, right?
Yes.
And I've been looking for his murderer ever since. Susie H, thanks for gifting 5 memberships.
Let's talk about September 2nd, 2022. You had testified on direct that you had, your daughter had asked you a question, you responded around 8:48 in the morning, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said at that point you then hung out at home, correct? Mm-hmm. Around 10ish you went for a walk, correct? Mm-hmm. You said you...
Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
You said you then came home, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you said that you went to the gym around 12 o'clock, 12:09,
Yes.
correct? I think that's when you log in, around 12:09.
That's when I checked in using my phone at Planet Fitness.
Okay. And that's the Planet Fitness that's on like Fort Apache and Charleston, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's kind of just down that road, right? Down. What's the road? So you live on Spanish Steps?
Correct.
And then the road to kind of make your way out to Piggott, what's that one called?
South Tassel.
Okay, and then if you made a left to go by Piggott, what's that big road?
Red Hills.
Red Hills. And Red Hills can kind of get you up to that corner, right? Where the
You can go through a
Fitness is.
roundabout. You can go north from there on Apple, and then you head east to get to Planet Fitness.
Okay. And I think what you had, before we do that, let me ask you this. So what car did you take to the gym?
The BMW.
All right. Oh, so it's kind of, what's the color? It's not quite gray. It's not quite brown.
I think it's brown.
A brownish color. It's kind of metallic-ish.
Right.
Okay. And you took that route that we just talked about. That's how you got to the gym. Correct?
Probably.
Okay. Oh, another question. So, and we're circling back to something, but your belief is, what's Jappy's role in the conspiracy? What exactly did he do?
I'm not certain to what extent, but obviously he's the one who initiated the surveillance that was done on me that went from, I believe it was August 16th, all the way through September 7th. So despite his testimony also that they only do surveillance every other day, if you look at Cynthia Sauerland, the surveillance pages from that, you see that they're done back from one day to the next. And when I requested that these surveillance logs be provided to me the first time, I received only 3.
Okay.
Then when I pointed out the fact that there was a surveillance log on September 6th that mentioned September 1, then lo and behold, now there was 4. Okay. I believe that there were actually surveillance logs for every single day, and they just weren't turned over to me. So I believe that, that Jappy knows that I didn't kill Mr. Gehrman.
Okay. So do you think it's a little strange that if Jappy wanted to frame you for murder, he would clear you of all wrongdoings with the allegations of taking bribes?
I'm already here on this charge, so I don't think he needs to worry about another charge.
And so if the job's done, why waste his time with Compass Realty?
In what sense?
Well, he testified that after you got arrested, he spent another 4 or 5 months investigating Compass Realty and then brought charges to the DA's office. Why do that?
So, and this is an interesting point, because if you look, well, I guess you can't look, but the file into me was over 100 gigabytes in information. That's quite a bit of information. The file into Compass Realty was only 3 gigabytes worth of information. It appears it was just a token investigation, because again, he didn't do the stakeouts that we discussed. He very clearly said that he believed that this personal property was leaving the homes. And it's shown in 500 pleadings that, again, there was no personal property taken from these homes, no vehicles that were actually, I'm trying to finish answering your question, sir.
Okay.
There were no vehicles, again, for which the titles were traced. He didn't investigate the issue with the homes being trashed ahead of time to lower their values so that they could basically net almost double on the next sale. So, again, that's, as far as I'm concerned, when he refuses to do a legitimate investigation on me, again, I'm doing just 3 gigabytes worth of data. I think it was just a sham investigation. He didn't do any of those other things he promised he would do.
Sir, isn't it true you told this on direct examination, you bemoaned the Attorney General's office for looking at your case for like a matter of a month and then just not doing anything with it? You did say that, right?
No.
You never complained about the Attorney General not taking your Compass Realty allegation seriously?
I did not bemoan and I did not complain.
Okay. Did you say they didn't take it seriously?
I didn't say they didn't take it seriously.
Did you say that they only looked at it for like a month or two?
They only looked at it for a month.
Just a month?
Yeah.
And Jappy looked at it for 11.
But again, he didn't do the things he promised.
Yes or no? He looked at it for 11 months.
Yes, but it was a sham investigation.
Okay.
It was a bogus investigation.
Okay.
Didn't do what he said he was going to do.
All right. Oh, let's talk about Zach. You like Zach, right?
I think he dislikes me more than I dislike him. I didn't really, personally, didn't have qualms with him. I didn't. He didn't waste my headspace.
Okay. And that's good to know. The disagreement that you had, do you really think it was like a total fallout over this Ottawa property?
I don't. No.
Okay. Because to be honest, like you did continue to do business deals with Zach after Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what Zach was upset about,
Sir,
if I may.
Sir, my question is yes or no. You continue to do business deals with Zach Shilling after the Ottawa sale?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
look how he writes this down.
Now at this time I'm going to show opposing counsel what's been marked as 388.
I cannot believe that Mr. Tellis lets things go and it doesn't bother him, because if he can't finish his sentence, he's going to write it down and he's going to address it later. He will circle back until he gets satisfaction.
395 and 396. Sure.
Does the defense attorney have his tie tucked into his pants? It's an odd look. New style, I guess.
Sir, I'm going to show you first 390, 389, and 388. Do these look familiar to you?
Hold on just a few moments, because
sure.
I want to look at where he actually changed realtors, because when I do my redirect, this is all going to become relevant.
Okay.
Can I use this? Pause for a minute. I'm going to use this on my redirect, so thanks for bringing up this exhibit. Before I read what you asked me to read, I'm going to just make a few notes here. Where he changed realtors, even though that has nothing to do with the question I was asked. Is he going to answer the change realtors part?
Do you know what that is?
I do, but it doesn't say who the realtor was on this.
Well, and I would turn your attention to 388.
Okay.
Look here at the bottom.
Approach.
Sure. Yes. 388. Mm-hmm. Does that help? Kind of help? I mean, sure. Look at the address.
Of course.
We got our address here.
Right.
And that corresponds to those documents. Correct. Do these appear to be like a listing agreement, kind of an order closing the sale of a certain property, a check going out to Mr. Shilling?
Yes.
And these all appear to be fair and accurate depictions of those?
And this is Ottawa.
The Ottawa
right
property, yep.
Mm-hmm. And just let me write a note if I may.
Sure.
Second chair. Now relegated to third chair because pro se defendant.
Okay with this?
He says to his lawyer, "Are you okay with this?" He's asking for a way out. So, yep, they're coming in. Is there no way you can object and keep these from coming in?
Go to the back page, the very last page. I think it kind of shows some dates.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask for admission of stage proposed 388, 389, and 390.
There's the hand.
There's no objection.
And then I want you to take a look at 396,
Defense lawyer's very close.
395, 394, 393, 392, 391. And let me know if these appear to be listing agreements.
Not sure why the attorney's still up there. He already made no objection to these documents. He's just perusing the evidence.
Yes, they are, sir.
Okay, and those are fair and accurate depictions of those agreements, correct?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Shilling?
Mm-hmm.
Just one second.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Ottawa was the property where you guys had some sort of disagreement about a valuation, right?
Yes, it was more a little bit of sour grapes on his end, but yeah, no, it wasn't, as far as I was concerned, a big deal.
Right. So, but when we heard kind of cross questions and testimony from Zach about there being this disagreement, Ottawa is the one that we're talking about, correct?
Ottawa's the one where he felt like he was cheated, but that wasn't the case.
Understood. And just publishing 388, this was kind of the licensing agreement to bring Zach Shilling on, correct?
Right.
And if we look here, oh, okay, it's showing up there. Zach Shilling is there. Sorry, this monitor's kind of cut off. 389 is a court order that establishes that the sale was approved for this Ottawa property, correct?
Yes. Well, basically, it's just this is the deed after the docs have been finalized, everything's done.
Understood. And publishing 390, we'll do it backwards, but that's like a check that got cut to Zach in relation to this property, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the date on this is 3/22 of 2021, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So despite this disagreement, isn't it true that the public administrator's office continued to use Mr. Shilling for properties that you needed to have sold that came through the PA's office?
Yes, I never disputed that.
Okay. Well, I mean, we heard some testimony about like, oh, Zach didn't get a lot of business at Trail. I think Nicole may have said things like that, correct?
Right, and it's true that he actually had his business reduced, but I'll go into that.
Well, okay. So, but publishing 391. Oh, sorry. We're requesting that 391 through 396 be admitted to evidence.
I have an objection.
Thanks. So we've got here in 391 on June 8th of 2021. This is a deal with Zach, correct?
Right.
We've got another one here, 392, 612, another deal with Zach.
Right.
135,000.
394, 716, another deal with Zach.
265,000. These are all sales of homes.
393, this is a 611 2021 deal with Zach.
128,000.
Publishing 395, 814 2021, a deal with Zach.
365,000.
Right.
Publishing 396, 10/6/21, another deal with Zach.
295,000.
All postdating the big disagreement, correct?
It, again, was not a big disagreement, and as far as I was concerned, and the issue that he truly has with me will come later, and I can discuss that.
Okay. The bottom line is
More notes.
money continued to flow from the public administrator's office to Zach Shilling for the work on these houses, on these deals, correct?
Not nearly as much at a certain point, but yes.
My question is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. All right. You mentioned you're a tech guy, right? A little bit of a techie?
Mr. Hamner's rubbing
I
his
think you
face.
asked that before, yes.
Are you an Apple guy or a Google person?
Android.
When it comes to phones, what are you?
Well, you know, I have a Google phone.
Okay. We've seen this timeline, right? We've seen this timeline on publishing states 374. I want to turn your attention to this page. It's entries 23, 24, and 25. You covered these messages and calls from your wife on direct examination. Do you recall doing that?
Yes, sir.
I believe you had said that you were out walking around. You received this message, and then your wife called, and you just didn't want to get back to her, and that was kind of what happened with that. Is that correct?
Right, I was really close to home. I was going to walk in the door, so why? Or walk through the garage, I should say, and so why?
Right. And I think you said, "Honey, I'm home," right?
Something along those lines.
Because May was home at that time.
Right.
Okay. And that was just minutes later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So there wasn't any concern. It was just a picture of your daughter in this call. You were just going to take care of it, right?
Right.
Okay. Nothing else?
As far as like messages and things go, or?
Okay. Well, anything else you want to add to this, sir?
I don't think so.
Your wife doesn't have a Google phone, right? She have an Apple?
Yes.
And she, Apple's got all these crazy products. They've got what's the thing that you put on your wrist that kind of goes with your phone? What's that one called?
Some of the Apple Watch?
The Apple Watch. Does May have an Apple Watch?
She does.
Okay. Did you ever watch Steve Jobs' presentations when he would get up and say, just one more thing? You ever see him do that? And he drops like a new product or anything?
No.
Never seen that before? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
it's worth a watch. It's pretty good.
Let's take a look. I'm publishing I don't even know if I've shown this opposing counsel. This is just...
This is the moment.
May I approach the witness? Let the record reflect I'm showing opposing witness 378. Stage proposed 378. Those appear to be the messages that we're looking at in that timeline, sir.
It was in this moment he knew.
Okay, and on the back of this is the very image that she sent to you. Would that be correct?
Right.
And that's a fair and accurate depiction of that thumbnail,
Mm-hmm.
correct? And it's a fair and accurate depiction of what's up there in that timeline, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. At this time, we got permission to admit Stage 378.
No objection.
And you talked about these. I think you told us before on cross that these messages, they weren't hacked or anything like that from the police. Like these were the messages, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm now going to publish 378.
For our viewing pleasure.
So this message, if you could, please tell me what is the time. Oh, it's kind of cut off a little bit. What time is that message sent?
At 10:36 a.m.
Okay, on September the 2nd, is that
Correct.
right? Then we have this other little blurb. It doesn't actually have anything there, but what is the time on that?
10:36.
And then we have on this following page another message at 3:16. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think she's kind of talking about how much, she's selling some cards and making some money, something like that, correct?
Right.
And you immediately kind of respond within a minute to her at around 3 o'clock, correct?
Right.
But you don't do anything here, correct? Because it's just a random message, and there's no need to. Nothing's being asked of you, right?
Right.
It's just a random message.
Right.
And you just take care of it when you walk in the door, right?
Pretty much.
It's the setup.
Showing opposing counsel what's been marked as state proposed 379 through 387.
He took the bait. He's authenticated the messages, said they're legitimate, not hacked. He wants so badly to know what's on that paper, but at the same time, he doesn't want anyone else to see. See if he says, "Can we approach?" It was the soft lead up that gave this trap away, and I think Mr. Tellis fell for it.
Before I approach, I'm just going to ask you one more time. You didn't delete anything off your phone on September 2nd of 2022, did you, sir?
Not that I recall.
He's got a qualifier there.
Now I'm going to approach the stage proposed 379 through 387. I want you to take a look at those.
Oh. Yeah, he's screwed. Yeah, I know. Told you we shouldn't have taken this case.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, do those appear to be messages that we just looked at from maybe some other device that we were just looking at through your text messages or your timeline?
Yeah.
Do those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of those messages?
Except there's an additional message.
Right, there's an additional message. That's your wife's Apple Watch, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, and that's a fair and accurate depiction of what that watch looks like, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And with the exception of the one message that's off, everything else seems to be a fair and accurate depiction of your communication on that day that you were just telling us about on the timeline. Isn't that right?
So it seems, yes.
Okay. At this time, we'd ask for the admission. Stage proposed 379 through 387.
You could approach, please.
Yep, he wants to approach. Every time there is evidence that's going to be admitted, or an exhibit that's going to be admitted that is hurtful to the client, they try to approach. Why? Because they're trying to fight to keep it out. And this is obviously not going to help Mr. Tellis in his case at all. Apparently, Apple Watch saves the day, and it has a record of something. What are the guesses?
They're admitted in gentlemen.
Admitted, they come in.
Sir, you maintained that on the morning, September 2nd, 2022, you were at home, correct?
Right, except for when I went to take a walk.
Did you wear a hat when you took a walk?
You deny going over to 7216 Bronze Circle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Publishing 379. That is your wife's Apple Watch, correct?
I mean, it's got a picture of my daughter on it, so I'd have to assume that it is.
No. That's the same picture you just told us about from your text messages, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's at 10:35, correct?
Yes.
It says Friday, correct?
Yes.
It also says Rob up in the corner, correct?
Yes.
I'm now publishing 380. Please read to this jury, what does it say underneath that photograph?
It says, "Where are you?"
Where are you? You told us you were at home.
I did not. I said, actually, when I got the messages, I was still on my walk.
Sir, is it your testimony that you were at home on the day in that morning?
Not the entire morning, no. And I said that to you, sir.
And let me ask you this question. That message isn't on your phone, is it?
It isn't. I mean, if it was sent, it should have been.
One
But
at a time, one at a time,
Sir,
please.
yes or no? That message isn't on your phone.
why it isn't, I wouldn't know because
I didn't ask you why.
It's not on my wife's phone either.
Sir, I didn't ask you why. I asked you a yes or no question. That message is not on your phone, correct?
From what you showed me, it is not.
And you were in possession of your phone on that day, correct?
On that day, yes.
And you, as the owner of the phone, have the ability to save messages and delete messages, correct?
Yes.
Because the person who holds the phone controls the information, correct?
At that moment, yes.
Right. And she's asking, where are you? Right?
Yes.
At that same time, at 10:30 in the morning, we've seen video surveillance of a car that you say looks just like mine driving in Mr. Gehrman's neighborhood, correct?
That is correct.
Sir, if you left your phone at home, you wouldn't have been able to respond to that message, correct? If you were not next to it, correct?
I think that's speculative, but
if you left your house and left your phone at home on the morning of September 2nd, and your wife's texting you, where are you, you wouldn't have been able to respond to that, correct?
But I did not.
I didn't ask you that. If you were not in your house on September 2nd in the morning, and your wife sent you a message with a phone you had left at home, it would have been impossible for you to answer that question, correct?
I mean,
Again, it's a speculative answer.
He can answer.
I'll ask you again.
Again, that would have been if in fact that was the case, if in fact I left my phone at home, then sure, yes.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, so at this time, we need to end early today, so we're going to conclude for the day. Can I get turns of course just so we can talk about tomorrow's start time?
Gladly, Ange, thank you very much for gifting a membership. The jurors are going to come up to talk about the start time for tomorrow. That means tomorrow the prosecution has rested. The prosecution rested. They've no further questions for this witness. It doesn't mean they're done. We will have redirect, which will be more narrative, and we know we've got 4, possibly 5 topics that Mr. Tellis wrote down in his grease pencil on his notepad in 72-point font. So we've got those, and he might be writing some more. But yeah, seriously, big breath. It's just straight up denial. Anytime he's presented with any evidence, he does not believe the validity of the evidence. He's a tech guy. Okay, he's a tech guy and doesn't believe the reports. Thinks everything's been fabricated, and he expects us to believe that everything's been fabricated. Clemmy Ange, thank you very much for gifting the membership. Appreciate that. He's a hoist of his own petard. Okay.
At this time, we are going to conclude for the day. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in the way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication, or social media, read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case, do any research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials, do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case till it's finally submitted to you. We're going to start tomorrow morning at 9:30. So same thing, Officer Hawks will greet you and he'll bring you in. Thank you very much for your time and attention. You are excused till tomorrow morning at 9:30.
All right, next year.
And with that, we're going to cut to our mountain scene because we are done with court for the day. The ending, basically we put the timestamps together. Mr. Tellis appears to have deleted a message from his phone and his wife's phone, but not her Apple Watch. And the message says, "Where are you?" He was said, "Oh, I didn't respond to the message because I was right there." No, that was the exact time frame that we have on video. Somebody using his vehicle or his wife's vehicle and looks a lot like his car at Mr. Jeff Gehrman's home. And that's the timestamp. That's why the prosecutions, I think, very effectively proved that this wasn't Mr. Tellis just choosing not to answer text messages. This was Mr. Tellis not in possession of his phone, so it would not record where he was. So there'd be no GPS data linking him to the crime scene. I think they did a very good job pulling that out. He tried to cover it up, denied everything. I don't buy it for a second. I don't buy what Mr. Tellis has told us for a second. There has been I can't think of a single thing in his testimony aside from where he admits lying, and even that, he says he did it because he was trying to help people out, spare his family pain. He has no faults in his own eyes. Zero. There is no point where he's like, yeah, I made a mistake there. I really shouldn't have done that. Instead, he doubles down every single time. The fault is always on somebody else. There's always a finger to point of blame to go another direction than himself. And the narcissism is just, it's exuding through his pores at this point. All of them. Let's see. He tried to cover up and delete it. He must have deleted it on his wife's phone too. She's got to know that that was deleted. She probably wanted her car back. When are you bringing the car back? Honey, I need the car. Hang on. I've got to take it to the car wash real quick. All right. Did you call the code red? I think Emily D. Baker would have called the code red at this point by now. This is in brutal cross-examination, and it's forced Mr. Tellis to double down on things that are absurd. Like you have the reasonable person approach, right? The jury looks at things and say, is that reasonable? Is there reasonable doubt? And the story that Mr. Tellis wants you to believe is so unreasonable and so far out there that at this point, if the jury had to choose between Mr. Tellis, his version of the events and everything that went down, and a story about little green men coming down and abducting somebody from the Las Vegas Strip, I think they'd be looking at the little green men going, I think it could happen. I think it could happen if those are my two options, because it is so absurd. It's so far out there and far-fetched. There's just no way anyone is going to be buying this.
Call from
Master Ayden.
Master Ayden, that phone call sounds a lot better. What's on your mind right now?
Okay, finally I made it home. Okay, let me put this case in perspective. Do you remember when you was a child and the worst thing you ever did, you don't have to go into details or anything, and you got the worst punishment you ever received, and you just remember it as a grown man? This is what this case feels like. I was like, this is so unfair how they're beating up on this guy. But I mean, he did it to himself, and it's well deserved. But I said, I have never seen a case where I could sit here and say they don't even need a closing argument. The state doesn't even need to close an argument out. There's no way they lost this case. There's not a single person in that room that said, maybe he's right. I mean, they're spelling it out, crossing T's, dotting I's. They're literally just spelling it out from timelines. And the worst part about it is, had he not took the stand, they probably wouldn't even have gotten this far to just kind of spell it out for everybody.
I think defense is going to get up there and grab the mic and just be like, "That's it. I'm out of here. We've said it all. There's nothing else to say."
Right. Have a mic drop moment. I really want them in closing to say, you know what, Your Honor, I rest my case, and just go sit down and let the defense do whatever they're going to do. That would be so amazing to see that, because I'd be like, yeah, they pretty much told us everything right there.
Man, this is the craziest case I've ever seen. The narcissism on display. I mean,
right.
Wow.
This beats dead, because at least he cried at the end and he tried to put a little scripture in there and say this is God's will. And,
I'll give him that. He squeezed a tear out.
But at least he
had to squint a lot, but it was there.
Right. But this guy is like, I mean, golly, man. I mean, at this point, say, look, Your Honor, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please don't give me life. I have kids. I messed up. Yes, I did it. Something to that effect, because it's, oh my God.
You can't do that after wasting 2 weeks of the court's time. You can't ask for leniency at that point. It's like, you know what? I done screwed up. I probably should have owned up to this before you guys proved it 6 ways from Saturday that this was all me. But no, it's too late at this point. There's no there. I will tell you, there is not a hint of remorse.
No.
Even when he talks about Mr. Gehrman and having to see the pictures, it's awkward for him to fake some sort of feeling of disgust or abhorrence or anything. He struggles, and that's why he skips over it so quickly. That is a feeling that he's not able to manufacture or replicate accurately, and that's why it's so quick.
Right. it feels like he trying to rehearse what he was going to say and then forgot some of it. So he's just kind of like trying to find keywords to be like, okay, I don't want to sound too much like a narcissist, but I have to say this or I have to deny that. So it seems like he rehearsed everything in the cell, and then when he got on the stand, it just blew up, and he's just like, oh my gosh, what do I say to this? What do I do to that? And that's why I don't feel bad for him, because I'm just like, you're the guy who I don't, you feel, even though, yes, murder is murder, it is what it is, but sometimes you have that how did you get here moment where you kind of feel bad and say, you're getting the punishment you deserve, but what led to you even making that decision? With this guy, it's a little easier because he is a narcissist, and it kind of feels like, well, you don't care anyway, so you're just going to be in jail for the rest of your life, explaining your case to whoever your cellmate is, the guards, like, I got set up and I was framed. And
yeah, he's telling this story to everyone who will listen in jail. This reminds me of those movies where it starts and it's like the main character is like falling off a building and it like freeze frame. And he's like, I bet you're wondering how I got here. And then we have this court. This is how we got to this point.
Yes.
And this is a cake of his own making. And the prosecution is forcing him to eat every piece and lick up the frosting when he's done. And he doesn't like it. But I don't think the jury is buying anything that he's said. Honestly, I don't think anything he says, even if it's truth, the jury would start doubting that. If the prosecution comes out and says, the sky is blue, and Mr. Tellis comes out and says, the sky is blue, jury at this point is like, no, I'm not so sure now. I've got doubt because Mr. Tellis said it was true.
Right. And the thing about this prosecuting is so ruthless, because it's like, you proved your case an hour ago, but no, we're going to walk this guy back around the corner. We're going to walk back everything you said, from the conspiracies to the affair. We're not just gonna leave it at the W. No, it's almost like watching the Kansas City Chiefs against whatever your favorite high school team is, and we're just sitting there in the audience watching these guys.
It's a little league team, whatever it is. It's
literally just high fiving the chest bumping, and we're just like, this is just not right. Yeah, I'm a Chiefs fan, but this isn't right. They deserve it because they challenge these guys. But this prosecution is so pro in what they do. They're just methodically, they're even breaking the rules purposely, knowing these two guys have no clue what they're even doing. I mean, the prosecution was leading the whole case, and when I say leading, obvious leading.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of leading that wasn't objected to throughout this trial. The judge allows a lot of that, and a lot of that the judge just says, "I'm the referee," unless somebody complains, I don't call ball, a foul.
Right.
And the judge also allowed a lot of argument and back and forth, and only stepped in when the court reporter was having a hard time keeping track of who's talking, so they're talking over each other, or there was an objection. Look at the judge in Karen Reed's case. She wouldn't have allowed anything like this. We've seen other judges that have really tight reins.
Right.
This one allows just a little bit more drama in the courtroom, which is spectacular.
Right. But you know what? I think she does that because in this particular case, she's kind of like, you know what? Rather than you just pleading guilty or taking your plea, you asked for this. So I'm going to let all the bells and whistles in. I'm going to let it all come in here. I'm going to show you, or show others rather. I'm going to make an example out of you why other murderers who might be coming down to the docket might just say, let me take the plea deal, because I'm going to make a circus out of this, and I'm going to just sit back and enjoy the show, and I'm going to sit back and watch you just bury yourself alive here in this courtroom in front of the world to see. That's kind of what I got out of this case. I was just like, I've seen really good prosecutions, but this one is almost like methodical.
It was the way the prosecution handled this has been masterful throughout the trial. I love the different styles, the strengths that they play to with the witnesses. I think they chose the right witnesses for cross-examining. The ones they had to handle very softly, they did. And in the way they laid traps, even when they were softly handling the witness, the way they led them down a logical path to the answer that didn't help Mr. Tellis. The way they flipped witnesses that way, it was masterful. These guys are good. Don't commit a crime in Las Vegas, because these guys are going to get you when it goes to court.
And the thing was that I noticed about it is like they let this man talk on and on and on. he was breaking the rules too, but they allowed it because it was only giving them fuel, because they were like, sir, you're pretty much presenting our case for us. We're not even going to object to anything you and your lawyer are doing, your narrative, whatever, when you're narrating your whatever. We're going to let him talk and talk and talk, because when he's done, we're going to have a buffet of questioning, because they can only go inside the scope, but he opened so many doors where they just sat back. I mean, if we could just see the inside look, they were looking at child, they're like, oh man, keep going, please keep talking. Keep saying whatever you're saying, because when you're done, we are going to have a party in your honor.
And they did, and he was the main course.
Yes. It was so bad. Sorry. Oh, and now before I go, I have to tell you about my almost Judge Boyd experience. I got rescheduled. I know you almost tried to play my voicemail. I went up there. I was so happy because everybody kept saying, well, you're bragging the exemption. I'm like, no. I want to do this. I want to be a juror. I met a nice lady named Jenny. We started talking. I did advertise your channel, by the way. Nice. We get there, and because she's like, oh, I like courtroom drama. I said, well, let me tell you about recovery. So hopefully she's in here, But anywho, I get to the desk, I get all the way cleared and all this other stuff. And the lady's like, are you ready to go in so we can do the whatever? And she said, oh, wait, are you wearing shorts? And I looked down, and a moment came to my brain when I watched the episode where the lady got arrested for being a camera, and she says, I hate shorts. And I'm thinking, it just said, echoing in my head, Judge Boyd is in my head saying, I don't like shorts in my courtroom. And I'm like, I wear shorts.
Master Ayden, you wore shorts to Judge Boyd's courtroom to serve jury duty?
I know, and I deserve to get started by your audience for this. And it didn't dawn on me till I got there. I was like, oh my God, I'm in shorts. And I'm just sitting there with my cane, and I'm like, but luckily they rescheduled me. They said, we'll come back
you tell
in
them,
October.
Look, you're like, I don't know, I'm blind. I don't know if I'm wearing shorts.
I tried to say that, like, man, I didn't know. I didn't realize I put in a shirt and said, well, you got 9:30 to find some pants, and like everybody's at work, so it couldn't happen. So the lady was nice enough to reschedule me, and I was like, I'm going to wear my Sunday's best next time. Suit, tie, pants, church. I'm going to be dressed.
You're like, cut a blind guy some slack, okay? I couldn't see what I was wearing this morning.
I was getting an Uber downtown to San Antonio, too. I had to go through like 3 Ubers just to get back home. It was horrible. I was like, this is what I deserve, because I should know better. I watch the channel every day, and I should have known better than that.
Master Ayden, thanks for the call. Yeah. It's good talking to you. Glad we got a good connection this time as well.
All right. Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye. All right, Master Ayden almost served jury duty in Judge Boyd's courtroom down in San Antonio, Texas, but he was wearing shorts. So he gets rescheduled. Okay, we have a podcast in a few minutes, in about half an hour. I've actually built the podcast thumbnail, and it's already up. We've got a portal, so we're going to portal from one to the other. We're going to wrap up this and get prepared for those that have not been to the podcast before. First of all, the podcast is a time where we basically just decompress a little bit, blow some steam off. It's a little more relaxed. Some topics come up that might not be court related at all. It's always fun to, usually we do a survey of some sort with chat and we get off on some weird tangent, and that's okay. Because it's the Not Relevant podcast, we have a good time. Please join us. It starts in about 30 minutes. It's right here on this channel. If you want to join, the easiest way is click the subscribe button and then click the ring the bell, and you'll be notified when we go live. But it'll be in 30 minutes, and we'll portal you over there anyway, either way. So a big shout out to all the mods, a big shout out to all the new people who are here today. Thank you very much, and welcome. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you come back and stay. This trial's not over. We've got at least 1, maybe 2 days left of that. So I'm coming to the podcast, Wayne. Yes, I'm coming. So, all right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again at the podcast in 30 minutes. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye-bye.